Chapter 1813 Broken Sword. Chapter 1813 Broken Sword. To be fair, Su Zimo was only a grade 4 Black Immortal. As for Snow Wind Ridge, they were not considered as the top combat strength. The territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge was a grade 6 Black Immortal while his protector was a grade 5 Black Immortal. However, for some reason, Xia Qingying had a strange feeling in her heart, as though she had a sixth sense, that the green-robed man before her was very, very important to Snow Wind Ridge. If this person were to leave, it would be a huge loss for Snow Wind Ridge. That was the reason why she wanted to try her best to retain Su Zimo. However, Su Zimo merely shook his head gently. When Xia Qingying saw that Su Zimo was determined, she could only sigh. The two of them stood facing each other in silence for a moment. As though she recalled something, Xia Qingying took out a storage bag and handed it to Su Zimo. "Fellow Daoist Su, the storage bags of the dozens of evil wolf army soldiers you killed initially are all inside. Keep them." Su Zimo thought about it and did not reject it. Actually, he would not have thought too much about it even if Xia Qingying kept the storage bags for herself. He had intended to leave something for Snow Wind Ridge upon his departure, as well. Su Zimo received the storage bag and scanned it with his spirit consciousness. The items in the storage bag were not much different from the storage bags of the evil wolf army. There were Dharmic treasures, immortal herbs and essence condensation pills. Su Zimo put away the immortal herbs and essence condensation pills. Just as he was about to return the remaining Dharmic treasures and weapons to Xia Qingying, his heart skipped a beat. Earlier on, his palm accidentally touched a storage bag. The bronze square tripod that was initially silent in his consciousness vibrated strangely. Frowning slightly, Su Zimo picked up the storage bag and started checking it. "That's the storage bag of the leader," Xia Qingying said. Su Zimo nodded and put away the storage bag as well. Thereafter, he stuffed all the Dharmic treasures he had collected from the evil wolf army into a storage bag and handed it to Xia Qingying. "Fellow Daoist Su, what are you doing?" Xia Qingying was at a loss. There were more than 500 black-grade Dharmic treasures. Although they were all inferior black-grade, this was an unimaginable wealth for Snow Wind Ridge. More than half of the Black Immortals in Snow Wind Ridge did not have black-grade Dharmic treasures. Even for the guards of Snow Wind Ridge, slightly more than 100 of them had Dharmic treasures. If Snow Wind Ridge obtained those Dharmic treasures, their overall strength would increase significantly. "Accept it," Su Zimo smiled. Those dark-grade Dharmic treasures were almost useless to him. His grade 9 green lotus true body was completely superior to inferior black-grade Dharmic treasures. "This is way too precious." Xia Qingying still could not believe or accept it. Su Zimo smiled. "You deserve it. Don't forget, when I first descended on the Dragon Abyss Star, you gave me a bottle of healing elixirs and a dust removal talisman." Xia Qingying's eyes reddened. She had not expected that Su Zimo would still remember her subtle actions back then. Furthermore, he even gave her such a huge reward in return. In terms of value, any single inferior black-grade Dharmic treasure was enough to exchange for hundreds of thousands of bottles of those elixirs and dust removal talismans. Su Zimo released his spirit consciousness and scanned his surroundings carefully. When he did not sense anyone spying on him, he said, "Don't worry, although I'll leave Snow Wind Ridge, I won't be able to leave the Dragon Abyss Star within a short period of time. Keep this messenger talisman well. If anything dangerous happens in Snow Wind Ridge, tear this talisman, and I'll know." Su Zimo took out a messenger talisman from his storage bag and handed it to Xia Qingying. "Yes." Xia Qingying pursed her lips slightly with a hint of reluctance in her eyes. "Brother Su, you have to take care too." Su Zimo waved it off casually. Just as he was about to turn and leave, he suddenly paused and whispered, "I've got to remind you about something. Be careful of Qin Xianyang." He could not reveal that Qin Xianyang colluded with the evil wolf army. After all, he did not have any evidence. Even if he said it, it would only be a one-sided statement. He could only leave a reminder for Xia Qingying. "Yes." Xia Qingying nodded. When Su Zimo saw that Xia Qingying's expression was calm, as though she had expected it, he could not help but ask in surprise. You knew about it long ago? I was merely suspicious previously, Xia Qingying said. Qin Xianyang appeared not long after you left. Isn't that too much of a coincidence? Furthermore, you're so insistent on leaving as though you're convinced that the evil wolf army knows about this. With all 500 of them dead, the only one who can leak the news is Blood Sun Valley. Su Zimo nodded slightly with a look of admiration in his eyes. The woman before him was extremely smart. It was truly rare for her to be able to notice something amiss through the clues left behind. What was even rarer was that Xia Qingying was still expressionless despite suspecting Qin Xianyang. If Xia Qingying were to fall out with Qin Xianyang and Blood Sun Valley, she would definitely suffer immediately, and Snow Wind Ridge would not be spared either. However, if Xia Qingying did not expose him, Qin Xianyang would be smug and continue with his disguise. Brother Su, when are you prepared to leave? Xia Qingying asked. Do you want to leave with us tomorrow? She was worried that Blood Sun Valley or Qin Xianyang would harm Su Zimo. After all, Qin Xianyang's plan was ruined because of Su Zimo's appearance today. However, if Su Zimo were to travel with everyone from Snow Wind Ridge, it would be difficult for Qin Xianyang to make a move openly. We'll see, Su Zimo replied ambiguously. Pausing for a moment, he continued, I might head to Snow Wind Ridge to take someone away. I hope you can agree to it. No problem. Xia Qingying nodded without hesitation. Su Zimo turned to leave and waved to Xia Qingying with his back facing her. Xia Qingying watched Su Zimo enter a room before leaving reluctantly. Late at night, Su Zimo did not rest. After returning to his room, he took out the storage bag of the leader. He was extremely curious as to what was in the storage bag that could trigger a reaction from the bronze square tripod. He released his spirit consciousness and forcefully erased the spirit consciousness imprint on the storage bag before opening it. Although there were no immortal herbs in the storage bag, there were around 10,000 essence condensation pills. It was almost equivalent to the total number of elixirs carried by the rest of the evil wolf army. Su Zimo put away the essence condensation pills and continued checking. Apart from the essence condensation pills, there were a few other black-grade dharmic treasures in his storage bag. The best among them was only at middle grade. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Even middle black grade was not worthy of his attention. Right then, Su Zimo's gaze shifted and he exclaimed softly. In the corner of his storage bag, he caught sight of a gray broken sword. The broken sword was dim without any sharpness and was filled with cracks. It was like a piece of trash. However, when Su Zimo picked up the broken sword, the bronze square tripod vibrated once more. Chapter 1814 True Dragon 9 Flashes. Chapter 1814 True Dragon 9 Flashes. Su Zimo scanned the broken sword carefully with his spirit consciousness but could not see anything. After pondering for a moment, he tossed the broken sword into the bronze square tripod. The interior of the bronze square tripod heated up once more and released an extremely terrifying power to smelt the broken sword. The entire process was done on its own by the bronze square tripod. About an hour later, the broken sword was completely refined by the bronze square tripod, forming a dark gray liquid. The bronze square tripod began to absorb the power of the broken sword. Su Zimo focused his gaze and saw that the other shattered walls of the bronze square tripod showed no signs of healing. The power of the broken sword was still directed to the intact tripod wall where the divine dragon was. Suddenly, the divine dragon on the outer wall of the bronze square tripod suddenly opened its eyes. The man and dragon exchanged glances. A divine light seemed to burst forth from the divine dragon's eyes and entered Su Zimo's eyes. Su Zimo shuddered. The next moment, a secret skill appeared in his mind. True Dragon 9 Flashes? Su Zimo murmured instinctively. The Dragon Phoenix True Body had browsed through many ancient books of the dragon race in the Dragon Bone Valley of Tianhuang mainland, but he had never seen similar secret skills. This was clearly a secret skill of the upper world's dragon race. Strange, There are Buddhist cultivation techniques and Sanskrit on the inner walls of this bronze square tripod. However, there are secret skills of the dragon race on the outer walls. Su Zimo was increasingly curious about the origin of the bronze square tripod. However, at that moment, he was in no mood to think. He memorized the entirety of the secret skill, True Dragon 9 Flashes, right away and comprehended them bit by bit. About 4 hours later, Su Zimo let out a long breath. This secret skill of the dragon race was extremely mysterious and complicated. If it was cultivated by a true human or anyone else, it might take dozens or even hundreds of years for them to comprehend it. However, Su Zimo's essence spirit had the dragon phoenix essence spirit to begin with. Cultivating this secret skill of the dragon race required half the effort. In just 4 hours, he had already comprehended something. Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit and released the secret skill. In a flash, he vanished from the spot. When he reappeared, he was already outside the room. A look of joy flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. This secret skill should be a top-tier movement technique of the dragon race with a total of 9 levels. Once released, it would produce an effect close to teleportation, disappearing from the spot and flashing to another location. Of course, the flash could not be too far away. Teleportation was a supreme divine power. In the upper world, one had to be at the Heaven Essence realm to release a supreme divine power. That was the legendary Heaven Immortal. However, at level 1 of the True Dragon 9 Flashes, a movement technique similar to teleportation would be born. If he could cultivate to level 2, he could flash twice in succession. If one could cultivate it to its limits, they could flash 9 times in succession. Su Zimo had fought countless battles in Tianhuang mainland. He knew very well what it meant for a battle if he could master that movement technique. On the ever-changing battlefield, anyone who possessed such an unfathomable movement technique would definitely be in control of the initiative. After 4 hours of cultivation, Su Zimo was already at level 1. Su Zimo looked at the bronze square tripod and fell into deep thought. At that moment, the eyes of the divine dragon on the outer wall of the bronze square tripod closed once more. The Prajna Nirvana Sutra was incomplete. If Su Zimo was not wrong, there was a high chance that the remaining Sanskrit words were etched on the inner walls of the other 3 walls. Did that mean that the other 3 outer walls of the bronze square tripod would have 3 different secret skills as well? What would happen if the bronze square tripod was completely repaired? Ever since he ascended through the tribulation transcendence, Su Zimo had a feeling that the bronze square tripod seemed to have its own sentience, like a living being. Suddenly, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. As though he sensed something, he put away the bronze square tripod and turned to look at the darkness in the distance with a bright gaze. Before long, a figure walked out slowly from the darkness and arrived. It was the young master of Blood Sun Valley, Qin Xianyang. "Brother Su, your senses are so sharp." Qin Xianyang smiled gently and nodded to Su Zimo, praising the latter. Su Zimo did not fall for it at all and asked with a calm expression, "Young Master Qin, why are you here so late at night?" Qin Xianyang smiled. "I love to make friends. After hearing that you wanted to leave Snowwind Ridge during dinner, why don't you come to Blood Sun Valley if you don't have anywhere to go? Brother Su, don't worry. Although you're a grade 4 Black Immortal, your status in Blood Sun Valley will definitely not be weaker than a grade 5 Black Immortal. You think too highly of me, young Master Qin," Su Zimo replied indifferently. "However, I'm lazy by nature and don't like to be restrained. I'm afraid I won't be able to stay in Blood Sun Valley." Qin Xianyang burst into laughter. "It's fine. Since you're unwilling, I won't force you. However, the door to Blood Sun Valley will always be open for you. As long as you're willing, you can return at any time." Su Zimo had an indifferent expression and remained silent. In fact, he could not even be bothered to reply. Qin Xianyang nodded with a calm expression and turned to leave. The moment he turned around, his expression darkened. As the young master of Blood Sun Valley and a grade 6 Black Immortal, he was giving Su Zimo face by personally inviting a grade 4 Black Immortal. To think that this person would be so tactless. Qin Xianyang was already enraged the moment Su Zimo rejected him. However, he was scheming and did not reveal it. He left Su Zimo's residence and headed towards his chamber. Before long, a faint shadow appeared in the darkness behind him. "Young master, how should we deal with this person?" the shadow asked softly. Qin Xianyang stopped in his tracks and said slowly with a cold gaze that was filled with killing intent. "This person has some tricks up his sleeves and is extremely intelligent. If he can't be used by me, I'll have to kill him." "Understood," the shadow replied. Qin Xianyang said, "Keep an eye on him and attack when he's alone. Don't let Qingying or anyone else from Snow Wind Ridge witness it." Pausing for a moment, he continued, "Additionally, bring a few more people with you. Don't let anything go wrong. This person must have some means to be able to destroy hundreds of the evil wolf army and kill Boss Hook, who was above his level." "Don't worry, young master," the shadow said. "I've asked Liang Qiu previously, and he only killed Boss Hook by a surprise attack. If we were to fight head-on, he would definitely not be able to kill a grade 5 black immortal." "All right, you may leave." Qin Xianyang waved his hand. The shadow gradually disappeared into the night. In the dark night, a few black shadows gradually appeared outside Su Zimo's room, like ghosts in the night that were difficult to detect. In the room, Su Zimo opened his eyes slowly. A cold glint flashed through his eyes as he smirked and murmured, "Is it here already?" Chapter 18:15 Suppressing Everything. Chapter 18:15 Suppressing Everything. Actually, when Su Zimo was conversing with Qin Xianyang, his spirit perception had already sensed the latter's killing intent. He had not expected Qin Xianyang to move so quickly. After all, this was Blood Sun Valley, and Xia Qingying and the others from Snow Wind Ridge were still nearby. If Qin Xianyang wanted to maintain his image, he should not attack here. The people who were lurking were only here to watch him. Although those people were far away and seemed like they were well hidden, they could not hide from Su Zimo's senses. Su Zimo's essence spirit had already reached the level of a grade 6 black immortal. Even without using his spirit consciousness, his spirit perception and his powerful 5 senses could sense the abnormality in his surroundings. Sneering coldly, Su Zimo pondered for a moment before floating down from the bed. Since it was inconvenient for them to attack in Blood Sun Valley, he would create an opportunity for them to attack. Shadow was Qin Xianyang's personal guard, a grade 5 black immortal. He ascended 20,000 years ago, and nearly died in the chaotic world outside. He only survived because he was saved by Qin Xianyang. His life was given to him by Qin Xianyang. From that day on, he followed Qin Xianyang and became his shadow. Over the years, he had helped Qin Xianyang kill countless people. He was already extremely familiar with such things. The person he had to kill this time round was slightly special. Although he was a grade 4 black immortal, he seemed to have some methods. He did not dare to be careless. In order to kill this person completely without any accidents, he brought along another 6 grade 5 black immortals. Including him, there were 7 grade 5 black immortals. 7 grade 5 black immortals surrounding and killing a grade 4 black immortal was not a small lineup. "Boss, he's out!" A cultivator beside Shadow sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. Shadow narrowed his gaze and looked over. The green-robed cultivator pushed open the door and determined his direction before leaving quietly without alerting anyone, as though he wanted to leave alone in silence. "Boss, he seems like he's trying to leave alone without alarming anyone from Snow Wind Ridge." A Blood Sun Valley cultivator sent a voice transmission. Another person said, "Boss, should we follow him?" Shadow sneered and sent a voice transmission. "This is a rare opportunity. We'll send this lad on his way tonight. Everyone, be careful and don't let him discover you." "Understood." The other 6 grade 5 black immortals of Blood Sun Valley replied. Hidden in the darkness, Shadow and the other 6 watched Su Zimo from afar and followed behind. Before long, they left Blood Sun Valley. Su Zimo gradually sped up. The group of 7 followed tightly behind. Shadow sneered, The entire process was extremely smooth and the person before him did not notice anything at all. They were already gradually far away from Blood Sun Valley. No matter how much of a commotion there was, it would not alarm anyone from Blood Sun Valley. It was only then that Shadow gestured to the others. The remaining 6 people understood and dispersed, surrounding the figure at the front. Shadow approached stealthily as well. Right then, the figure in front slowed down and stopped in his tracks. Immediately after, the person turned around with a burning gaze that was unusually bright in the night. He was actually looking in Shadow's direction. Shadow was slightly stunned. He had been discovered. Since his tracks were exposed, Shadow no longer hid. With a mocking expression, he walked out from the darkness and glared at Su Zimo coldly. "It's too late for you to only realize it now," Shadow sneered. The moment he said that, 6 figures gradually appeared not far away from Su Zimo and sealed his path of escape. 7 Grade 5 Black Immortals surrounded Su Zimo. This was supposed to be a sure kill. However, for some reason, Shadow felt uneasy. This person who was surrounded and had nowhere to run seemed way too calm. He could not see any panic or fear in Su Zimo's eyes. It was as though this person had long known about everything before him. "You!" Shadow suddenly thought of a terrifying guess. Could this person have sensed their tracks long ago, and came here intentionally to lure them in? Right then, Su Zimo smiled gently and said, "It's too late for you to only realize it now." The same sentence spoken by different people. The moment he said that, Su Zimo's figure suddenly retreated and his body was filled with a divine power at an astonishing speed. Heavenly feet and boundless golden light burst forth at the same time. Before the Grade 5 Black Immortal behind Su Zimo could react, he felt a figure flash before him and he was knocked into Su Zimo's embrace. Crack! 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 The jarring sound of bones cracking could be heard. The chest of the Grade 5 Black Immortal caved in deeply. Poof! The next moment, a bloodied hole appeared on his glabella. His essence spirit was destroyed and he died on the spot. At that moment, that person's eyes were widened in disbelief. "Attack!" Shadow reacted right away and shrieked. Even if he realized that Su Zimo was intentionally luring them over, he had to attack. He did not believe that their remaining 6 Grade 5 Black Immortals could not kill a Grade 4 Black Immortal. "Kill!" Su Zimo's figure advanced once more, leaving a series of afterimages as he arrived before a Grade 5 Black Immortal. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and hollered, "Thunderclap kill!" At that distance, the sound domain's secret skill release produced immense destructive power. The moment the Grade 5 Black Immortal's Dharmic treasure was summoned and divine powers were condensed, he heard a thunderous explosion. The person shuddered and his mind went blank as his gaze turned sluggish. A trickle of blood even seeped out from his ears, nose and mouth. Bang! Su Zimo slapped down. The person's forehead shattered and his essence spirit was crushed by Su Zimo's palm as he fell to the ground. In just 2 breaths, 2 Grade 5 Black Immortals were dead. Swoosh! 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 A few black Grade Dharmic treasures tore through the void with an aggressive aura and let out shuddering sounds as they enveloped Su Zimo. Waving his sleeves, Su Zimo suddenly raised a handful of yellow sand and enveloped the few black Grade Dharmic treasures. The yellow sand surged and rubbed against one another. Crack! Instantly, cracks appeared on the few black Grade Dharmic treasures. Just like that, they were destroyed by the 9 heavens' living soil and crushed into pieces. "How dare you try to kill me with such methods?" Su Zimo sneered and punched in reverse, shattering an incoming divine power. He strode forward and shouted, "I'm Desolate Marshal and I will suppress everything!" Su Zimo pointed casually and pierced the glabella of a Grade 5 Black Immortal instantly. A 3rd Grade 5 Black Immortal was dead. The remaining 4 people were dumbfounded and their eyes were filled with shock. That person had just shattered a divine power with his body. Finally, a look of fear appeared in Shadow's eyes. Chapter 1816 Three Great Evil Daos. Chapter 1816 Three Great Evil Daos. Although the person before him was only a grade 4 black immortal, he exuded an unstoppable aura as though he was looking down on the world. Shadow and the other three were shocked. In the lower world, they were also titans that ruled over a region. However, after ascending to the upper world, their drive had long been worn away after so many years. They knew very well that in the upper world, even on this remote dragon abyss star, they were only nobodies. However, the person before him was different. This person exuded an invincible sharpness. "I'm Desolate Marshal and I will suppress everything." The everything in that sentence was not referring to the few of them, but the experts of the Dragon Abyss Star and even the many experts of the upper world. Anyone with such boldness was either a lunatic or a truly ruthless person. At the very least, they could not afford to provoke him. Shadow was already thinking of retreating when he saw Su Zimo kill the three grade 5 black immortals with ease. "No, we can only kill him if the young master comes personally." That thought flashed through Shadow's mind as he commanded the remaining 3 grade 5 black immortals. "Stop him!" After saying that, Shadow wanted to escape from the battlefield. However, the moment he turned around, his vision blurred and someone appeared before him. The person wore green robes and had refined features as he smiled at him. "Psst!" Shadow's pupils constricted and his hairs stood on end. How was that possible? Before Shadow turned around, he clearly saw that this person was stopped by the other 3 black immortals. How did the latter arrive before him in the blink of an eye? Was this teleportation? Shock, fear, and confusion flashed through Shadow's eyes. The next moment, his vision darkened and he felt a sharp pain in his mind, losing consciousness completely. The remaining 3 grade 5 black immortals were shocked as well. They released their most ferocious attacks, but all their Dharmic treasures, divine powers, and secret skills missed. Su Zimo had vanished from the spot. By the time they reacted, they saw Su Zimo kill Shadow with a single slap. True Dragon 9 flashes. Although Su Zimo could only flash once at the moment, it had already displayed an extremely terrifying effect in the battle. Su Zimo turned to look at the remaining 3 people with a calm gaze and a faint smile. In the eyes of the 3 of them, this frail and scholarly scholar was like a demon. "Escape!" The 3 of them felt chills run down their spines and turned to flee without hesitation. Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit and released 2 lesser divine powers at the same time. Under normal circumstances, a cultivator could only release a single divine power at the same time. However, Su Zimo's green lotus essence spirit and dragon phoenix essence spirit were fused right now, and he could release 2 divine powers at the same time. "Hell Dao! Hungry Ghost Dao!" 2 Buddhist divine powers burst forth and descended on the heads of 2 grade 5 black immortals. The scene around one of them changed drastically, and countless ghostly figures appeared. They were sinister and filled with blood chi. It was endless darkness. The Hell Dao was the most violent divine power among the 3 evil Daos. Once one fell into it, it would be as though they had fallen into an endless abyss and could not break free. They would be haunted by countless malevolent ghosts, and their life force would be devoured. The grade 5 black immortal released a lesser divine power hurriedly as well, wanting to fight against the Hell Dao. However, it did not last long before his lesser divine power was devoured by the Hell Dao. Ah! The person stood on the spot and let out a tragic cry as though he had gone mad. Before long, he was drowned by the many malevolent ghosts. At the same time, the hungry ghost Dao descended on another grade 5 black immortal. Many hungry ghosts appeared around the grade 5 black immortal and lunged towards him with long, grisly red tongues and bloodshot eyes. Bang! 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 This person attacked consecutively and released immortal arts and divine powers, using Dharmic treasures to suppress many hungry ghosts. However, the hungry ghosts were endless and appeared continuously. They lunged forward like madmen and gnawed at his flesh in huge mouthfuls. Although the 3 evil Daos of the 6 Daos were all lesser divine powers, they were used to punish those who were evil and extremely violent. Before long, the 2 grade 5 black immortals died in the 2 evil Daos. Su Zimo frowned slightly. His current cultivation was only at grade 4 black immortal. Although his essence spirit was at the level of a grade 6 black immortal, the power of his lesser divine powers should not exceed that of a grade 5 black immortal. The reason why he released the 2 lesser divine powers was because he wanted to trap the 2 of them before killing them. To think that the power of the 2 lesser divine powers was much stronger than Su Zimo had expected and killed the 2 grade 5 black immortals. It's the Prajna Nirvana Sutra! A thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind and he quickly realized the reason. After cultivating this Buddhist cultivation technique, the might of his divine powers would increase. Furthermore, this was only the incomplete version. The Prajna Nirvana Sutra was even stronger than Su Zimo had imagined. Su Zimo put away his thoughts and did not think further. There was also a grade 5 black immortal that escaped. He could not let that person return to Blood Sun Valley. Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit once more and released another divine power. A pair of gigantic wings grew slowly behind him. They were golden and shone with a bedazzling glow without any flaws. That was the divine power of the Golden Rock, Extreme Speed. This divine power was obtained by the dragon Phoenix True Body, who cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness, and was an innate divine power. Even though Su Zimo was only at the black essence realm right now, he could release his innate divine powers at will without restrictions. Swoosh! With a golden flash, Su Zimo's figure vanished from the spot. Initially, the grade 5 black immortal thought that he had escaped. Unexpectedly, he did not manage to escape far before his scalp tingled as though he was targeted by an extremely terrifying living being. Instinctively, he turned back. That single look scared him out of his wits and his legs went limp, almost falling to the ground. Unknowingly, Su Zimo had already arrived behind him and was inches away. I'm lacking a mound right now. You'll do. Circulating his essence spirit, Su Zimo extended his finger and tapped the grade 5 black immortal gently, releasing another lesser divine power. Beast Dao! A divine power descended on that person. The figure of the grade 5 black immortal changed at a visible speed. In the blink of an eye, he lost his human form and turned into a tall and mighty big yellow dog. Initially, Su Zimo wanted to turn him into a horse. Unexpectedly, he caught sight of a yellow dog darting by from the corner of his eye. The moment he was distracted, something went wrong with that divine power. So be it if you're a dog, as long as you can run. Su Zimo clapped and leaped onto the big yellow dog, patting its head. Let's go to Snowwind Ridge. There was no way the grade 5 black immortal could endure such humiliation. Instantly, his blood surged and he cursed. Woof! 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 However, no words came out. Instead, there were only barks of a dog. Chapter 1817 Farewell. Chapter 1817 Farewell. Even he was stunned when he spoke. The big yellow dog's eyes shone with tears of grief. Let's go. Don't dawdle. Su Zimo patted the dog's head beneath him. If not for the lack of a mount, you would have died like those people. The big yellow dog could not help but shudder when he recalled the tragic state of his companions before their deaths. No matter what, if he could survive, he would have a chance to escape. At that thought, the big yellow dog was prepared to submit to Su Zimo first before looking for another opportunity to escape. With that, the big yellow dog bared his teeth and ran towards Snowwind Ridge. Su Zimo sat on the big yellow dog and opened the storage bags of Shadow and the other 6. He took a look and could not help but laugh. There were many things in their storage bags. Apart from a few Dharmic treasures, there were a few cultivation techniques and immortal arts. There were more than 20,000 essence condensation pills alone. Including the 10,000 odd that Su Zimo had collected from the evil wolf army previously, he had close to 40,000 essence condensation pills. In addition, there were many immortal herbs in their storage bags. Coupled with the immortal herbs he had collected from the evil wolf army previously, there were a total of 3 million. Even in Blood Sun Valley, he could exchange for 30,000 essence condensation pills. If he could head to Dragon Abyss City, he could even exchange for 300,000 essence condensation pills. Of course, up till now, Zimo had no use for those immortal herbs. 40,000 essence condensation pills were enough for him to cultivate for a period of time. By the time dawn broke, Zimo had already arrived at Snow Wind Ridge on the big yellow dog. This time round, Zimo did not alarm anyone and sneaked into Snow Wind Ridge, arriving at his old straw hut. At that moment, there was a fatty sleeping soundly at the entrance. It was Duan Tianliang. Zimo was here to take Duan Tianliang away. This person knew his secret and could not stay in Snow Wind Ridge. He could either kill or keep this person by his side. In addition, Zimo was prepared to leave Snow Wind Ridge and lack someone to take care of the spirit fields and other chores. Duan Tianliang was a suitable candidate. Duan Tianliang was sleeping soundly when he felt a warmth on his face, as though something moist and soft was brushing against it. Instinctively, he opened his eyes and saw a big yellow dog licking his face wildly with its wet tongue. "Fuck your mother! Where did this wild dog come from?" Duan Tianliang cursed and bolted up from the ground, invigorated instantly. After standing up, Duan Tianliang slapped his storage bag without hesitation and withdrew a pitch-black iron ball. He raised it above his head and shouted with a divine might, "Wild dog, take my 1,000-ton ball!" All of a sudden, Duan Tianliang was stunned when he saw Zimo on the big yellow dog. "Boss?" Duan Tianliang blinked and seemed to have realized something. He coughed gently to hide his awkwardness and smiled embarrassedly. "Boss, why are you back so early in the morning?" "Hee, I didn't know it was you." He put away the 1,000-ton ball without a trace and leaned forward, praising. "Boss, where did you get this mount? It's truly unusual." Duan Tianliang wanted to reach out and touch the big yellow dog's head. "Woof!" The big yellow dog bared its teeth and glared at Duan Tianliang with an unfriendly expression. "Wow, your temper sure is explosive." Duan Tianliang sneered and swept his spirit consciousness across the big yellow dog. "Level 5 Black Essence Realm!" Duan Tianliang was shocked. Zimo was only at the level 4 Black Essence Realm. He had not expected that the cultivation realm of a mount would be higher than its master. Duan Tianliang retreated a few steps and smiled obsequiously. "Boss, you sure have good taste. One look and I can tell that this mount is extraordinary. It must have a noble bloodline and is one of the best among the dog race." Duan Tianliang was delighted. His words were rather particular. Not only did he praise Zimo, he even praised the big yellow dog. "Woof! Woof! Woof!" Unexpectedly, the moment Duan Tianliang said that, the big yellow dog panicked and barked at him, almost biting him. To begin with, the big yellow dog was a grade 5 black immortal of Blood Sun Valley. How was it a dog? Naturally, he was furious when Duan Tianliang said that. "Stop it!" Zimo frowned slightly and patted the big yellow dog on the head. The big yellow dog whimpered and did not dare to say anything more. It could only bare its fangs at Duan Tianliang with a ferocious expression. Duan Tianliang was even more confused, not knowing how his words triggered the big yellow dog. Zimo replied, "I've already bid farewell to the mistress and am prepared to leave Snow Wind Ridge." "Ah?" Duan Tianliang was stunned for a moment. Blinking his eyes, he asked in a testing manner, "Boss, are you going to bring me along because you lack manpower?" "Yes." Zimo nodded. "I came back this time round to bring you along." Duan Tianliang lamented internally, but he was overjoyed on the surface. "I wonder what merits I have done to deserve such trust from you, boss." That's enough." Zimo interrupted him. "Pack up and prepare to leave." "Ah, all right." Duan Tianliang agreed readily and sprinted over. Zimo patted the big yellow dog and headed towards another spirit field. Before long, he saw another straw hut. At that moment, a middle-aged man pushed the door open carefully. It was Old Yen. The first person Zimo knew upon arriving at Snow Wind Ridge was Old Yen. Although the two of them did not interact much, Old Yen told him many things and took good care of him back then, Su Zimo remembered all of that. Brother Su? Old Yen raised his head and was slightly stunned when he saw Su Zimo, who was not far away. The barking sound woke him up. He got up and was about to go out to take a look when he bumped into Su Zimo. Brother Su, didn't you follow the mistress to Blood Sun Valley? Why are you back so early? Old Yen went forward and asked in surprise. Su Zimo nodded. I came back alone. I came this time round to bid you farewell as well. Why? Are you leaving, Brother Su? Old Yen was a little worried. You've just been promoted to be the personal guard of the mistress. Why are you leaving so soon? Did you have a conflict with Commander Liang? Back then, everyone witnessed the feud between Liang Qiu and Su Zimo. No. Su Zimo shook his head gently and was unwilling to talk more about it. Everyone would naturally know about this when Xia Qiying returned. Su Zimo said, Old Yen, this is a cultivation technique for children to focus their minds. It's for you. He took out a cultivation technique from his storage bag and handed it to Old Yen. This cultivation technique was obtained from Shadow of Blood Sun Valley. Su Zimo had always been clear about gratitude and hatred. Even if it was just a small favor in the eyes of others, he would remember it. This? Old Yen's palm trembled slightly. If he wanted to obtain such a cultivation technique, he would have to save up for tens of thousands of years to exchange for one. But now, Su Zimo had given him such a precious cultivation technique. Chapter 1818 Desolate Lands. Chapter 1818 Desolate Lands. Brother Su, this is too precious. Old Yan's face was slightly red as he held the spirit-gathering cultivation technique with both hands and trembled slightly. Nothing much. Su Zimo smiled gently. I have no use for such a cultivation technique. Just accept it. What's wrong? Right then, a woman pushed the door open and asked softly. Old Yan was excited and handed that cultivation technique to the woman. Hurry, look. This is the spirit-gathering cultivation technique that Brother Su gave our child. Ah! The woman exclaimed softly with a shocked expression when she saw the cultivation technique. This should be Old Yan's Dao companion, Ningyu. Su Zimo had heard Old Yan mention her in the past year. The two of them did not ascend at the same time, but they both came from minor kiliocosms. The fact that they were able to meet in Snow Wind Ridge was a rare fate as well, and they became Dao companions here later on. As though she recalled something, Ningyu said, Hurry, give Brother Su all the essence condensation pills you've saved up over the years. Right. Old Yen reacted as well and hurriedly took out a storage bag, handing it to Su Zimo. Brother Su, this is the essence condensation pills that I've accumulated over the years. There are more than 700 of them. There's no need. Su Zimo shook his head gently. I'm about to leave. Take this cultivation technique as a small gift from me to your son. Old Yen pondered for a moment. All right, since you said that, I'll accept it shamelessly, Brother Su. If you ever require anything, I'll definitely lay my life on the line. Brother Su, you haven't even met little Ping'an. Now that you're about to leave, please come over and take a look, Ningyu said with a smile. Little Ping'an was the nickname of Old Yan's child. He and Ningyu hoped that their child could grow up and live a peaceful life. Su Zimo nodded and arrived at the entrance of the room under the lead of Old Yen and Ningyu. Old Yen pushed the door open and revealed an exquisite cradle made of green bamboo placed in the middle of the room. A child around 2 to 3 years old slept inside with a flushed face and clenched fists. That child was almost the entirety of Old Yan's hope. Su Zimo did not enter the room. He merely paused for a moment at the entrance before retreating. He took out 2 more black-grade Dharmic treasures from his storage bag and handed them to Old Yen and Ningyu. Brother Su, this is... Old Yen was completely stunned and could not believe it. Although those 2 Dharmic treasures were only inferior black-grade, they were extremely precious treasures to them. Accept it. Su Zimo smiled gently and threw down the 2 black-grade Dharmic treasures. Turning around, he mounted the big yellow dog and sped back the way he came. Not far away, Duan Tianliang was running over. Let's go. Follow me. Su Zimo said and led the way out of Snow Wind Ridge. Duan Tianliang jogged behind him. The big yellow dog was still bearing a grudge against Duan Tianliang and ran away quickly on purpose. Duan Tianliang's legs almost broke from the running speed. The big yellow dog only slowed down after Su Zimo asked it to so that Duan Tianliang could catch his breath. Boss, does your mount have a name? Duan Tianliang caught up with great difficulty and asked while panting. No, Su Zimo said. Let's call it Big Yellow. Duan Tianliang said with evil intentions. Woof. The big yellow dog barked at Duan Tianliang with a sorrowful expression. Sure. Su Zimo nodded. Duan Tianliang winked at the big yellow dog and sneered internally. Little beast, you want to fight me? Boss, where are we going? Duan Tianliang asked again. Su Zimo asked. Are there any deserted places on the Dragon Abyss Star? It's best if there are no factions gathered. Su Zimo was prepared to find a quiet place to cultivate in seclusion. Right now, he had close to 40,000 essence condensation pills in his storage bag, enough for him to cultivate for a long time. There were still many unknowns about the Dragon Abyss Star and the upper world. However, he could only explore those unknowns if he raised his cultivation as soon as possible. Duan Tianliang thought for a moment. More than half of the Dragon Abyss Star is actually desolate and filled with all sorts of living ferocious beasts. It's extremely dangerous and no one will go there. Of course, those living ferocious beasts won't dare to come out easily either. Su Zimo said. Alright, let's check out these desolate lands. After saying that, a look of joy flashed through Big Yellow's eyes. Those desolate lands were filled with all sorts of living beings, strong and weak. There were many types and every single step was filled with danger. It was said that even the plants in the desolate lands could eat humans. If Su Zimo were to head to the desolate lands, he would definitely be buried there, and it could find an opportunity to escape. Right, he also had to bite that fatty to death before escaping. At that thought, Big Yellow headed towards the desolate lands excitedly. At the same time, in Blood Sun Valley, Qin Xianyang frowned with a dark expression. He had just sent everyone from Snow Wind Ridge away when he learned that Su Zimo had already left overnight. There was still no news from Shadow and the others' pursuit of Su Zimo. Young master! Right then, a subordinate sped over with a flustered expression. Arriving before Qin Xianyang, he knelt on the ground and panted. Shadow and 5 other Grade 5 Black Immortals are all dead. What? A cold glint flashed through Qin Xianyang's eyes and he turned murderous. The person said, According to my understanding, a total of 7 Grade 5 Black Immortals from the valley, Shadow included, chased after Su Zimo this time round. Now 6 of them are dead and their storage bags have been taken away. There's still 1 person unaccounted for. Good. Qin Xianyang grit his teeth and said coldly. Very good, Su Zimo. I've truly underestimated you. Young master, what should we do? The Blood Sun Valley cultivator asked. Qin Xianyang's expression was cold. Pass down the order to search for Su Zimo with all our might. I don't believe that any faction in the territory of Blood Sun Valley will take him in. Also, keep an eye on Snow Wind Ridge. Understood. The Blood Sun Valley cultivator acknowledged and bid farewell. Qin Xianyang did not know at all that at that moment, Su Zimo had already left the territory of Blood Sun Valley on the Big Yellow Dog and was heading towards the desolate lands where no one had stepped foot. The 2 of them and the dog ran for a full 7 days before arriving at the edge of the desolate lands. Up ahead was a forest with lush leaves and many ancient trees soared into the skies. It was dark and sinister within, filled with an ancient aura. The big yellow dog's eyes widened in shock and fear as it stopped in its tracks. Duan Tianliang gulped as well and asked, Boss, why don't we settle down outside? I can build a cave abode for you in a few days. Let's continue. Su Zimo's expression was calm as he patted Big Yellow on the head. His tone was calm but unquestionable. Although Big Yellow cursed internally, it could only grit its teeth and advance into the forest. Duan Tianliang followed at the back with a guarded expression. Chapter 1819, Crazy Plunder. Chapter 1819, Crazy Plunder. Su Zimo rode on Big Yellow and entered the forest slowly. Because the ancient trees were lush and covered the skies, there was almost no sunlight shining down from the forest, and it was dark and quiet. The ground was filled with many branches and leaves. Stepping on them made a rustling sound that was extremely clear in this quiet environment. Big Yellow's footsteps slowed down. For some reason, there was an extremely strange aura in the forest that made one feel extremely repressed. Duan Tianliang followed behind Big Yellow with a pale expression. He looked around nervously with a layer of sweat on his forehead. The forest was extremely quiet, and there were no living beings or ferocious beasts. However, Big Yellow and Duan Tianliang felt increasingly uneasy. Snap! Suddenly, a crisp sound came from beneath Duan Tianliang's feet, sounding extremely piercing in the forest. Duan Tianliang froze and looked down instinctively. He was stepping on a broken white bone. The white bone seemed extremely fragile after countless years and broke into two with a single step. The white bone was covered by many leaves earlier on. Duan Tianliang was focused on his surroundings and did not notice what was beneath his feet. It's fine, it's fine! Duan Tianliang composed himself and forced a smile. He whispered and continued walking forward. However, he had barely taken 2 steps when the sound of bones cracking sounded beneath his feet once more. He had stepped on another white bone. Duan Tianliang's expression changed. Boss, wait a moment, Duan Tianliang said softly and looked around. He conjured hand seals and waved his sleeves, creating a few cyclones that blew away the fallen leaves on the ground. When Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow saw the leaves floating, their expressions changed starkly. The ground in the forest was filled with endless white bones. Psst! Duan Tianliang gasped. What sort of a dangerous place was it for so many living beings to die? BB boss, let's retreat. Duan Tianliang's voice was trembling slightly. Before he could speak, Big Yellow could no longer withstand the fear. Even without Su Zimo's order, he had already begun to retreat. However, he had only taken a few steps when he realized that his escape path was completely sealed. As though they were alive, the initially motionless branches intertwined and sealed their retreat like thick spirit snakes. Suddenly, a blood stench emanated from the ancient trees. Faint patterns that resembled blood vessels appeared on the surface of the ancient tree with fresh blood flowing within. It's over! This is where I die! Duan Tianliang was horrified and despaired. The ancient trees in this forest grew by devouring living beings. There were all sorts of things in the Trichiliocosm. This forest stood here and had devoured countless ferocious beasts over the years. Any ferocious beasts that fell into it, and could not get out alive, would be devoured cleanly by them. Right from the beginning, Su Zimo had a calm expression as he rode on Big Yellow. His spirit perception was way too strong. Before entering the forest, he had already sensed that there was something strange about it. The scene before him was within his expectations as well. As the jade-green branches coiled towards Su Zimo, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow, Su Zimo suddenly spoke. Cultivation is not easy for the Flora race, Su Zimo said slowly. I don't want to destroy your cultivation. Don't make things difficult for me either. Many branches paused for a moment. Thereafter, a mocking emotion was released from the ancient trees. Even Big Yellow and Duan Tianliang could sense it. The next moment, even more branches tore through the air and coiled towards Su Zimo like jade-green snakes. Since that's the case, you can't blame me. Su Zimo floated down from Big Yellow's body and stomped on the ground, channeling his blood chi as though he had vanished. In his place was a jade-green lotus that soared into the skies. It was filled with a resplendent glow that illuminated the skies in a bedazzling manner. Instantly, the many tree branches paused, as though they had realized something. They exuded immense fear and shrank instinctively. The ancient trees swayed as though they were trembling. Absorb! Su Zimo channeled his blood chi and countless roots and branches extended from his feet into the ground, coiling around the ancient trees in the forest and absorbing their life essence wildly. The creation green lotus was the only one in the world and was a god of the Flora race. Back in Tianhuang mainland, experts of the Blood Vine race wanted to devour Su Zimo's bloodline but were devoured instead. These ancient trees were far inferior to the Blood Vine race. This was essence Qi absorption. If the Flora race grew at the same time, powerful plants would absorb the essence of other plants. For example, in the spirit fields, the spirit farmers had to weed often because they were worried that the weeds would absorb the essence Qi of the essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower and affect the growth of the two immortal herbs. But now that a grade 9 creation green lotus was absorbing the surrounding essence Qi wildly in the forest, the ancient trees could not defend against it at all. Right in front of Big Yellow and Duan Tianliang, the dense branches that extended towards them were the first to wither and fall. Immediately after, the surrounding towering ancient trees turned yellow bit by bit, and their life force drained rapidly. Initially, the forest was like a ghastly green ocean. However, before long, the ghastly green ocean began to turn yellow, and eventually extended to the entire forest. In the withered yellow ocean, only the middle region shone with a resplendent glow. There was a creation green lotus that shone brightly. Unlike cultivators of Tianhuang mainland, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow had not heard of the legend of the creation green lotus. However, at that moment, both of them realized that the green lotus before them was definitely a heaven-defying existence. Within a few hours, the forest withered completely. All the ancient trees died after Su Zimo absorbed their essence Qi. Su Zimo's figure reappeared and he let out a long breath. After absorbing and refining the essence Qi in the forest, his cultivation realm had improved significantly as well. The creation green lotus was way too domineering. If he did not control it, and allowed the green lotus true body to absorb the surrounding flora essence to grow and cultivate, all the flora in the entire Dragon Abyss star would be devoured by him. Of course, Su Zimo did not dare to cause such a huge commotion. Duan Tianliang was long dumbfounded. Big Yellow stood at the side and shivered as well. Initially, he was thinking of an opportunity to escape. But now, he had already given up on that thought. The handsome scholar before him was a complete fiend and could refine him with a single thought. His outcome would probably be similar to the withered trees around them. Chapter 1820 Silver Giant. Chapter 1820 Silver Giant. The three of them continued deeper into the desolate lands. The desolate lands were a place where various living beings and races gathered. Apart from various ferocious beasts, there were also some strange and powerful races. This area was extremely chaotic with all sorts of beings fighting one another. Almost no human cultivators were willing to step foot into this place. Right now, the combination of Su Zimo, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow was extremely unique when they arrived in this area and attracted the attention of many living beings. However, back when Su Zimo absorbed and refined the forest, there was quite a commotion and many living beings witnessed it. The living beings with lower cultivation and combat strength did not dare to advance and provoke them rashly. They merely followed from afar. As Su Zimo ventured deeper, the strength of the ferocious beasts he encountered increased as well. Along the way, many ferocious beasts had already gathered in the vicinity. There were hundreds of them and more were gathering, surrounding Su Zimo and the others. Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow had witnessed Su Zimo's methods before. However, they still felt nervous and shivered after experiencing such a scene. The ferocious beasts and living beings before him were unlike the forest earlier on. There were many ferocious beasts here that even Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow had not seen before. In the skies ahead, a gigantic bird floated. It was scarlet red and burned with flames. It had 9 heads and emitted a scorching aura. Although they were thousands of feet apart, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow could still feel waves of heat surging towards them. The 9-headed bird glared at Su Zimo and the other two with evil intentions. In fact, scorching lava was dripping from its body in an extremely terrifying manner. On the other side, a tall ferocious beast stood proudly among the demon beasts. This ferocious beast had the body of a horse and the face of a man, and seemed like the legendary pure-blooded ferocious beast, the Ying Zhao. An ear-piercing buzzing sound came from behind the three of them. Duan Tianliang turned back and his heart skipped a beat. Not far behind the three of them, there was a gigantic bee that was several times larger than him. Its wings flapped rapidly in midair and buzzed. A poison needle protruded from the tail of the gigantic bee. It was like a long spear that shone with a ghastly green glow, and emitted a foul stench. It was clearly filled with toxins. All three ferocious beasts were at the level 5 Black Essence realm. Similar ferocious beasts were gathering in the surroundings. Most of the ferocious beasts did not have high cultivation realms, and many of them were grade 1 to 4 black demons. However, if those ferocious beasts swarmed forward, even those who were at the level 5 or 6 Black Essence realm might not be able to defend against them. The three of them could be torn into pieces instantly. This will do. Su Zimo looked around. If they continued deeper, there was a high chance that they would encounter even stronger living beings. Furthermore, they were already far away from the major factions and no one should discover them. Screech! The 9-headed bird at the front roared into the skies and its 9 heads let out a long cry at the same time. It was extremely ear-piercing and almost penetrated through metal and rocks. The surrounding ferocious beasts roared one after another with menacing expressions. It was as though they were about to charge forward at the next moment. Duan Tianliang's face was pale as a sheet as he trembled and took out a round black ball from his storage bag, almost crying. Big Yellow was so scared that its legs went limp and it nearly collapsed to the ground. Right then, Su Zimo stood up slowly and floated in midair, emitting a shuddering aura. That aura was completely different from the creation green lotus from before. Berserk, ferocious, scorching and noble. After that aura was released, the surrounding demons revealed lost expressions. The 9-headed bird, Ing Zhao and the gigantic bee were bewildered as well. Suddenly, Su Zimo's gaze intensified as he opened his mouth. Roar! A roar that shook the world and shocked all the demons burst forth and spread through the surroundings. It resembled a dragon's roar and phoenix's cry and contained a supreme will that was unstoppable. Against that roar, some demon beasts with weak bloodlines and low cultivation realms could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground. That was the roar of the taboo dragon phoenix. Even the descent of a divine dragon was enough to intimidate the demon beasts before them, let alone a dragon phoenix. Although the 9-headed bird, Ing Zhao and gigantic bee were at level 5 Black Essence realm, and could maintain their composure, the aura that Su Zimo exuded gave the three ferocious beasts immense pressure. It was a bloodline suppression. No matter how strong a rooster was, it could not defeat a phoenix. No matter how fierce a cat was, it would tremble in fear at the sight of a ferocious tiger. This was a bloodline suppression. Although Su Zimo did not have the dragon phoenix bloodline, his essence spirit contained the dragon phoenix essence spirit, and could release its will. That will was enough to shock most demons. Scram! Just as the 9-headed bird and the other demons hesitated and stopped in their tracks, a loud roar sounded from afar. A living being was charging over in huge strides as it spoke in human tongue. Boom! 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 The ground shook. On the distant horizon, an incomparably tall giant was sprinting over. It had no eyes, nose, or mouth. The giant shone with a silver luster, as though it was made from molten steel. It was filled with a metallic luster and looked invulnerable. That's the giant race! Duan Tianliang was shocked and said hurriedly. In my minor chiliocosm, the giant race was the strongest race and dominated through history. The giant race was extremely strong and could fight against the dragon race in melee combat. Judging from its silver body, it's clear that it's a silver giant with the most noble bloodline of the giant race. Duan Tianliang's spirit consciousness swept across the silver giant, and his expression turned even uglier. Level 6 Black Essence Realm. To begin with, the giant race was superior to various other living beings, let alone a silver giant that was at the level 6 Black Essence Realm. They were completely doomed. When the silver giant charged over, the demons retreated one after another. Even the 9-headed bird, Ing Zhao, and the gigantic bee made way. Some demon beasts that could not dodge in time were trampled to death by the silver giant, and exploded into blood mists without any corpse left. "Ant, how dare you enter my territory!" With a ferocious expression, the silver giant roared at Suzimo. "I'm going to crush all of you!" Silver giant with immense strength? Suzimo's blood chi surged and he shouted fearlessly with a burning gaze. "Let's see how strong you can be!" Swoosh! In a flash, Suzimo took the initiative against the level 6 Black Essence Realm silver giant and charged forward. The giant race is clumsy and their movement techniques are not agile enough. Wrap around and don't fight him head on! Duan Tianliang shouted hurriedly, but it was too late. Suzimo had already attacked. "You must have a death wish!" Enraged, the silver giant extended its silver palm and slapped Suzimo viciously. Big Yellow winced and bared its teeth as though it could see Suzimo turning into a blood mist. Duan Tianliang narrowed his eyes as well and did not even dare to look. Chapter 1821 Kneeling Demons. Chapter 1821 Kneeling Demons. The silver giant spread his palm and covered the skies. Against the attack of the silver giant, Suzimo clenched his fists, and his blood chi surged. He attacked with all his might and released a punch. Suzimo did not release any movement techniques to deal with the silver giant. He merely wanted to test which level he could arrive at with his level 4 Black Essence Realm and grade 9 Green Lotus True Body. Boom! A loud bang sounded in midair. Immediately after, the silver giant took a step back and almost fell. All the demons were in an uproar. In the eyes of many ferocious beasts and living beings, Suzimo was as insignificant as a speck of dust compared to the silver giant. However, that speck of dust was the one that forced the silver giant back when it collided with his palm. What sort of power was that? A look of shock flashed through the eyes of the silver giant as well. Even he had not expected the ant before him to release such a ferocious power. "Boss isn't dead?" Duan Tianliang opened his eyes in disbelief. "Woof! Woof! Woof!" Big Yellow was delighted as well and cried out to boost Suzimo's morale. He had long been tied together with Suzimo for good or ill. If Suzimo could win this battle, he could survive as well. If Suzimo was defeated, he would be torn into pieces by these ferocious beasts that were coveting them greedily. "That's all there is to your strength." Standing in midair, Suzimo looked at the silver giant not far away with an indifferent expression. "Die!" The silver giant roared and strode forward. His gigantic feet stomped on the ground and he clenched his fists, punching towards Suzimo. Suzimo was fearless and charged forward once more. Boom! The fists collided and the world shook. The silver giant retreated once more. Suzimo did not give the silver giant any breathing room at all and attacked consecutively with the terrifying regeneration capabilities of his Green Lotus True Body. Bang! 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 The silver giant retreated continuously and shuddered. The demons were dumbfounded. The silver giant was the overlord of this area, and even the 9-headed bird, Ing Zhao and Gigantic Bee were under his jurisdiction. To think that the level 6 Black Essence Realm silver giant would be disadvantaged and suppressed completely. However, all the demons could tell as well. Although Suzimo had the upper hand, it was almost impossible for him to kill the silver giant. While the silver giant retreated repeatedly, his body was indestructible and shone with silver light. He was almost completely uninjured. "You do have some tricks up your sleeves." The silver giant could still speak in the battle and grinned. "However, that's all there is to your strength. You can't hurt me at all." At this point of the battle, Suzimo had already tested the waters. At the level 4 Black Essence Realm, if the grade 9 Green Lotus True Body channeled his blood chi, his strength would definitely be comparable to someone of the level 6 Black Essence Realm. Right now, the silver giant was a special living being. If it was any other cultivator, the full power of the Green Lotus True Body might even be able to suppress a grade 6 Black Immortal. At that thought, Suzimo no longer wanted to get entangled with the silver giant. The silver giant attacked once more and threw a punch towards Suzimo. Swoosh! Suddenly, a green light flew out from Su Zimo's glabella. A bronze square tripod that was 5 feet tall appeared. 3 sides were shattered and only one side was intact, emanating an ancient and mysterious aura. "Are we going to use our Dharmic treasures?" The silver giant burst into laughter. "The fist of our giant race is the strongest weapon." The silver giant was not wrong. The silver light that circulated around his body could even defend against the power and sharpness of most Dharmic treasures. The golden giants of the giant race had even more terrifying bloodlines. The golden light that emanated from their bodies could even condense into weapons to kill their enemies. Su Zimo's expression was cold, and he did not argue. Without a second word, he raised the bronze square tripod and smashed it towards the silver giant's fist. Crack! An ear-piercing sound of bones cracking could be heard. "Howl!" Immediately after, the silver giant's expression changed, and he let out a tragic cry. He clutched his wrist and staggered in retreat. The demons could clearly see that the fist of the silver giant had caved in from the bronze square tripod and was mangled. "Why, your lousy tripod!" The silver giant glared at the battered bronze square tripod in Su Zimo's hands, and his bell-like eyes were filled with fear. "Suppress!" Su Zimo hollered and raised the bronze square tripod, smashing it towards the silver giant once more. The silver giant wanted to dodge backwards. However, his figure was massive and his movement technique was not agile enough. How could he dodge? Helpless, the silver giant could only raise his arm to defend. Crack! The sound of bones cracking echoed once more. The arm of the silver giant was snapped by the bronze square tripod. The shattered bones were stained with silver blood and flesh, revealing a shocking sight. "Ah!" The silver giant roared in pain. Su Zimo tossed his palm and the bronze square tripod arrived above the silver giant's head. As long as his spirit consciousness moved, the bronze square tripod would smash down. At that time, a bloody hole would appear on the head of the silver giant. "Submit or die!" Su Zimo's tone was cold and domineering, not giving the silver giant any other choice. "I'm from the giant race! I'm from the giant race!" The silver giant had an indignant expression, as though he wanted to struggle and resist. However, he did not continue and his aura weakened against Su Zimo's might. "I'll submit." A moment later, the silver giant finally lowered his head and half knelt on the ground with a thud. The demons were shocked when they saw that. The giant race would not kneel down casually. They would only kneel to their leader or the golden giants with even nobler bloodlines. Now that the silver giant chose to kneel and submit in front of all the demons, there was no way he would betray Su Zimo. "Roar!" Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit and suddenly opened his mouth. Against the demons, he let out another dragon phoenix roar with a torrential aura. Previously, the silver giant was extremely far away and could not truly sense the aura of the roar. It was only then that the silver giant's heart skipped a beat as he raised his head with fear in his eyes. The aura and bloodline of this seemingly tiny human seemed to be even nobler than him. The demons bowed their heads against the roar of the dragon phoenix. Led by the 9-headed bird, Ing Zhao and the gigantic bee, hundreds and thousands of ferocious beasts and demons lowered their heads and knelt towards Su Zimo in midair. At that moment, Su Zimo seemed to be the master of all demons. It was an extremely shocking sight. Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow were dumbfounded. Under such circumstances, for some reason, Duan Tianliang could not control his legs and knelt on the ground. Big Yellow was already sprawled on the ground obediently, wagging its tail and looking at Su Zimo with a pandering expression. Chapter 1822 10 Years. Chapter 1822 10 Years. Su Zimo settled down in the desolate lands and opened up a spirit field nearby for Duan Tianliang to manage. Under normal circumstances, the rain frost flower and essence nourishing grass on the Dragon Abyss star ripened once every 100 years. However, as long as the green lotus true body absorbed heaven and earth essence chi to cultivate, it would attract extremely rich essence chi towards this place. The 2 immortal herbs would ripen within a year. The other ferocious beasts, including the silver giant, nine-headed bird, Ing Zhao, and the gigantic bee, obeyed Su Zimo's orders and surrounded the area with demonic qi. Even if someone passed by this place, it would be difficult for them to notice that such a sanctuary was hidden among the demons. After settling everything, Su Zimo entered seclusion cultivation. This time round, he had benefited immensely after killing 500 evil wolf army soldiers and Shadow of Blood Sun Valley and the others. There were close to 40,000 essence condensation pills alone. Su Zimo was prepared to absorb and refine all 40,000 essence condensation pills before making further plans. Under normal circumstances, the medicinal effect of an essence condensation pill was enough for ordinary black immortals to cultivate for more than 10 days or even a month. That would depend on the cultivation realm of the black immortal and the cultivation techniques they cultivated as well as their talent. For example, Duan Tianliang was only a grade 2 black immortal. One essence condensation pill was enough for him to cultivate for more than 2 months. Although Big Yellow was a grade 5 black immortal, it would take him more than 20 days to absorb the medicinal effects of an essence condensation pill completely. However, it was different for Su Zimo. This was the first time that Su Zimo had consumed an essence condensation pill to cultivate after arriving at the Dragon Abyss Star. During his cultivation, he was shocked to discover that the Green Lotus true body was like a bottomless pit, absorbing heaven and earth essence qi wildly, and refining the medicinal effects of the essence condensation pills. There was no need to worry about his grade 9 Green Lotus true body not being able to withstand absorbing too much heaven and earth essence qi. Furthermore, back in Tianhuang mainland, because he was only a mortal, it was difficult for him to change his physique rapidly even if he cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. Therefore, Su Zimo was extremely cautious and merely consumed perfect-grade elixirs. That was also the reason why he was able to cultivate to the extreme foundation establishment realm, second only to the eternal human emperor. But now, the grade 9 Green Lotus true body did not have to worry about that at all. There were indeed many impurities in the essence condensation pills. If one consumed too many of these impurities, they would definitely cause slight effects to their bodies after many years of consolidation. However, the grade 9 Green Lotus true body stole the creation of heaven and earth and baptized his flesh constantly. After consuming an essence condensation pill, apart from the pure medicinal effects of the essence condensation pill, all the other impurities would be purged out of the Green Lotus true body. Su Zimo could cultivate without any reservations. Coupled with the might of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra, Su Zimo could even consume and digest 10 essence condensation pills in a day. Under such circumstances, Su Zimo's cultivation was rising steadily. While Su Zimo was cultivating, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow obtained unimaginable benefits as well. In the vicinity, heaven and earth essence qi was extremely rich. Not only did the two immortal herbs grow 100 times faster, the cultivation speed of Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow also increased significantly. Initially, Big Yellow was by Su Zimo's side because it was shocked by his methods and did not dare to leave. But now, it would never leave even if Su Zimo kicked and punched it. It decided to stay by Su Zimo's side forever. Before long, the silver giant, nine-headed bird, Ing Zhao and gigantic bee sensed something unusual and approached carefully. When the few ferocious beasts saw that Su Zimo did not object, they were secretly delighted and cultivated wildly. Time was non-existent in the mountains and cultivation was endless. In the blink of an eye, 10 years passed. In the past 10 years, there were much less fights in these desolate lands, and it became extremely peaceful. Occasionally, there would be commotion in the surroundings, but it would be suppressed rapidly by the silver giant and the other ferocious beasts. Although Su Zimo rarely appeared and was always cultivating, ferocious beasts such as the silver giant, nine-headed bird, Ing Zhao and gigantic bee were increasingly respectful towards him. The ability to gather heaven and earth essence qi was truly terrifying and beyond their understanding. In the past 10 years, their cultivation had increased significantly as well. It was even more obvious than the 100 years of cultivation they had before. Su Zimo was in seclusion in the desolate lands and did not know that Blood Sun Valley, and the Evil Wolf Army had been searching for him for the past 10 years. The Evil Wolf Army even issued a bounty for his life. His tracks and news alone were worth 10,000 essence condensation pills. His head was worth 100,000 essence condensation pills. 100,000 essence condensation pills was enough to tempt any Black Immortal. Even grade 8 and 9 Black Immortals could not ignore that temptation. Even so, Blood Sun Valley and the Evil Wolf Army could not find any traces of Su Zimo after a few years. Although there was some news, they were eventually verified to be fake. It was as though Su Zimo had vanished from the Dragon Abyss Star. Later on, Blood Sun Valley and the Evil Wolf Army gradually gave up. To them, there was only a single possibility why there was no trace of Su Zimo despite such a high bounty. That person was already dead. This day, a long howl suddenly sounded from the desolate lands. It was as loud as the clouds and released an extremely terrifying wail. All demons were silent. Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow and the Silver Giant were jolted awake from their cultivation and looked over. Before long, a green-robed man walked out of the unassuming wooden house. He had refined features and an indifferent expression. It was Su Zimo. Level 5 Black Essence Realm! Duan Tianliang's spirit consciousness swept across Su Zimo, and he could not help but exclaim in shock. Big Yellow and the Silver Giant released their spirit consciousnesses as well and checked Su Zimo's cultivation realm with shocked expressions. In the upper world, cultivation was measured in units of 1,000 years. There were 9 levels to the Black Essence realm. However, Black Immortals had a lifespan of 100,000 years. Many times, it would take 10,000 years to advance a single minor realm. Although the cultivation speed of Big Yellow, the Silver Giant, and the others had increased tremendously with Su Zimo around for the past 10 years, they were far from being able to break through. Duan Tianliang was the only one who had advanced from level 2 to level 3 Black Essence realm. Nobody expected Su Zimo to become a grade 5 Black Immortal in just 10 years of seclusion cultivation. That's way too scary. Big Yellow and the Silver Giant looked at Su Zimo as though they were looking at a monster. That cultivation speed made everyone's scalps tingle. Duan Tianliang even began to suspect if Su Zimo was the reincarnation of an expert of the upper world. Su Zimo had a calm expression. He finally had a breakthrough after 10 years of seclusion. In the eyes of Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow and the others, his cultivation speed was terrifying. However, Su Zimo knew in his heart that it was because of immense resources, powerful cultivation techniques and a physique that stole the creation of heaven and earth that he was able to reach his current cultivation realm. However, in the past 10 years, his 40,000 essence condensation pills had already been expended. Chapter 1823 to Dragon Abyss City. Chapter 1823 to Dragon Abyss City. Part of the reason why Su Zimo came out of seclusion this time round was because he had a breakthrough. At the same time, it was because he no longer had essence condensation pills. In the Black Essence realm, essence condensation pills were extremely useful for cultivators. As for the Green Lotus True Body, his demand for essence condensation pills was much greater than ordinary cultivators. Although Su Zimo did not have any essence condensation pills in his storage bag, he had more than 3 million stalks of essence-nourishing grass and rain frost flower. This was what he had gathered from the Evil Wolf Army in Shadow as well as the others of Blood Sun Valley 10 years ago. If he were to exchange all those immortal herbs in Blood Sun Valley, he could get more than 30,000 essence condensation pills in return. Of course, even if he had no feud with Blood Sun Valley, Su Zimo would definitely not head there. He had once heard Xia Qingying mention that if he could head to Dragon Abyss City, 10 immortal herbs could be exchanged for 1 essence condensation pill. More than 3 million immortal herbs meant more than 300,000 essence condensation pills. In the past 10 years, Duan Tianliang had also collected 100,000 immortal herbs from the surrounding 100 mu of spirit fields. Now that Su Zimo was out of seclusion, he was prepared to head to Dragon Abyss City to take a look. What? Duan Tianliang was shocked when he heard Su Zimo's decision. Dragon Abyss City was the largest city on the entire Dragon Abyss star, and was also the only place where there were native immortals. Ever since Duan Tianliang and the others ascended to Dragon Abyss City, they were chased out and had never returned. Boss, the journey to Dragon Abyss City is long. Apart from some dangerous places, the most terrifying thing is that there are all sorts of bandits. Duan Tianliang did not continue. His meaning was clear. Although Su Zimo was a grade 5 black immortal with immense combat strength and could even fight across cultivation realms, their overall strength was still too weak. The silver giant, 9-headed bird and other ferocious beasts could only step foot into an area occupied by cultivators as mounts. If they appeared rashly, all the cultivators could kill them even without any reason. There were way too many black immortals on the Dragon Abyss star that were stronger than the silver giant and the 9-headed bird. Duan Tianliang said. I remember that about 1,000 years ago, when the territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge had just broken through to grade 6 black immortal, he was also in high spirits and wanted to head to Dragon Abyss City. To think that he would encounter bandits along the way. Snow Wind Ridge suffered immense losses. The territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge only managed to survive and return because Blood Sun Valley arrived in time. Pondering for a moment, Su Zimo said, The 3 of us are the only ones heading to Dragon Abyss City this time round. Our group is too small a target and shouldn't attract attention. The danger will be much less as well. Su Zimo looked at Big Yellow. You should know the way to Dragon Abyss City, right? Big Yellow nodded hurriedly. All these years, he had followed the Blood Sun Valley army to Dragon Abyss City. That path was relatively safer. Blood Sun Valley was one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss star after all, and almost no bandits dared to provoke their army. When they saw the flag of Blood Sun Valley from afar, many bandits retreated against the threat of them. Let's go, Su Zimo said. Let's go now. Rather than dawdle here, he might as well head to Dragon Abyss City as soon as possible to broaden his horizons. Dragon Abyss City could be said to be the center of the Dragon Abyss star. That was the only place that could resolve many of Su Zimo's doubts over the years. When Duan Tianliang saw that Su Zimo was determined, he did not dare to persuade further, and could only grit his teeth and follow behind Su Zimo. This time round, Su Zimo even specially had Duan Tianliang ride on the Ying Zhao and took out an inferior black-grade Dharmic treasure from his storage bag to give to the latter. Instantly, Duan Tianliang beamed and swept away the doubts in his heart. Boss, even if it's a mountain of blades or a sea of flames ahead, I'll accompany you, let alone Dragon Abyss City. Duan Tianliang patted his chest excitedly. The 2 men and 2 beasts did not linger in the desolate lands and left for Dragon Abyss City. Big Yellow carried Su Zimo and led the way. After a few days, Su Zimo's group of 4 passed by Snow Wind Ridge and looked from afar. There had not been much changes to Snow Wind Ridge in the past 10 years. Standing from afar, one could still see the scene of spirit farmers and guards patrolling. Without any delay, Su Zimo rode on Big Yellow and continued around Snow Wind Ridge. The 4 of them traveled day and night, and only stopped occasionally to rest. They did not encounter any trouble along the way. Some of the bandits had already retreated quietly when they saw the aggressive level 5 Black Essence realm Ying Zhao. This day, Su Zimo's group of 4 arrived before a mountain range. Not far ahead, the mountains were lush and rose and fell endlessly like a green ocean. This is the 100,000 Mountains. Over the years, Big Yellow's current body had become accustomed to human tongue again as it spoke. It'll take about 10 days to cross the 100,000 Mountains. Many bandits like to ambush cultivators in the 100,000 Mountains, Duan Tianliang said. I heard that there are many ferocious beasts and living beings here, Big Yellow said. Indeed, there are many. However, many years ago, the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley led the army of Blood Sun Valley and killed many ferocious beasts and living beings in the 100,000 Mountains, opening up a path of blood. Basically, no ferocious beasts or living beings would dare to step foot on this path of blood. That's why it's much safer. Su Zimo nodded and patted Big Yellow on the head. Let's go. After searching the vicinity for a while, Big Yellow finally found a mark and burrowed in. After a few turns, the path ahead opened up. A road filled with blood she led deep into the mountains with corpses strewn beneath its feet. It was unknown how many ferocious beasts and living beings died in that battle back then. On both sides of the blood path, ancient trees stood tall, and it was dark. Su Zimo's group of 4 advanced on the blood path. After walking for about a day, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. As though he sensed something, he exerted strength in his legs and kicked Big Yellow's stomach. Big Yellow understood and stopped in its tracks hurriedly. The Ying Zhao had followed Su Zimo for many years and seemed to have realized something as well. Stopping in its tracks, it released its spirit consciousness and surveyed its surroundings warily. Su Zimo narrowed his gaze slightly and looked at the dense forest on both sides of the blood path ahead in silence. Before long, a rustling sound came from the forest ahead. Immediately after, figures flashed. In the blink of an eye, at least a few hundred people appeared from the forest on both sides of the blood path, glaring at Su Zimo's group of 4 with hostile expressions. At the front of the blood path, 3 figures rode on menacing ferocious beasts, and walked out slowly from the dark forest. The ferocious beast looked like a ferocious tiger with gigantic feet and sharp claws. However, it was silent when it stepped on the ground. There were 2 men and a woman. The person in the middle was a burly man with short hair and a beard. He was at the level 7 Black Essence realm, and wielded a gigantic axe. His upper body was half naked and his muscles bulged like rocks, looking filled with strength. The man and woman beside the short-haired burly man looked young. Even so, the man and woman were both at the level 6 Black Essence realm. Most of the hundreds of figures in the forest were also grade 4 or 5 Black Immortals. Chapter 1824 Prisoners. Chapter 1824 Prisoners. That was quite a lineup. Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow, and the Ying Zhao were secretly alarmed. There was not a single grade 7 Black Immortal in the entire Snow Wind Ridge. Furthermore, apart from the short-haired burly man in the lead who was a grade 7 Black Immortal, the other cultivators were not weak either. A grade 5 and 3 Black Immortal dares to enter the 100,000 mountains? The person who spoke was the young man on the left of the short-haired burly man, a grade 6 Black Immortal. The young man wore black martial arts attire and a long sword hung on his waist. He had honed brows and eyes that looked sharp, revealing a hint of contempt in his tone. "Who are you guys? Where are you from?" The young woman on the right of the short-haired burly man frowned slightly as she chided. This woman was also a grade 6 Black Immortal. She wore a red shirt and her long hair was tied up, giving off an extremely neat and heroic aura. The short-haired burly man did not say anything. However, there was an extremely oppressive might in his eyes as he glared at Su Zimo and Duan Tianliang. Su Zimo cupped his fists gently through the void. "My surname is Su and I've just ascended to the Dragon Abyss Star not long ago. I haven't joined any faction and I want to head to Dragon Abyss City to take a look today. Please show mercy." Su Zimo was not showing weakness, nor was he hiding anything. The group of people opposite him were not weak. If they were to really fight, he would naturally be fearless. However, Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow, and the Ying Zhao might not be able to survive. It would naturally be for the best if everything could go smoothly. More importantly, Su Zimo had a feeling. Although the group of people blocking their way looked like bandits, their auras were vastly different from those of the evil wolf army. To be precise, the group of them did not have a strong blood stench. "Foo!" The black-robed young man laughed and mocked. "How dare you guys? You want to head to Dragon Abyss City alive with that cultivation?" The red-robed woman nodded as well. "There's still a long way to go. Even if we let you guys pass, you won't be able to reach Dragon Abyss City alive. If you want to head to Dragon Abyss City alive, you'll have to be at least at level 7 Black Essence Realm. You guys are still far from that." The black-robed young man pouted. "Let me give you guys a piece of advice. It's best if you return the way you came. At the very least, you can survive." Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow were delighted when they heard that. From the looks of it, the other party had no intention of robbing them or taking their lives. Duan Tianyang sent a voice transmission hurriedly. Boss, let's retreat. This truly won't work. Let's retreat first and try another path. A strange look flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. Neither the black-robed young man nor the red-robed woman had any intention of looting their storage bags. Although the black-robed young man's expression was disdainful and his words were harsh, he was still advising them out of goodwill to leave. Were they bandits? However, if they were not bandits, what were they waiting for with such a massive formation? Brother, have you heard of Blood Sun Valley? Right then, the short-haired burly man glared at Su Zimo and suddenly asked. Su Zimo was slightly stunned before nodding. Blood Sun Valley is one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star. Naturally, I've heard of them. For some reason, the black-robed young man and red-robed woman suddenly became alert and looked at Su Zimo warily. Big brother, you sure are attentive. Given how strange that green-robed cultivator is, there's indeed a high chance he's from Blood Sun Valley. The black-robed young man sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. The red-robed woman looked at the short-haired burly man as well and sent a voice transmission. Could those two be spies sent by Blood Sun Valley? If that's the case, we can't let them leave. The short-haired burly man nodded slightly and suddenly declared. We want to do something big here. However, your identity and background are truly suspicious. To be safe, I'll have to trouble you guys to stay first. Duan Tianliang's heart skipped a beat as he said hurriedly. Brother, you can't do that. You guys just agreed to let us leave. Why are you reneging on your words? When the black-robed man saw how nervous Duan Tianliang was, he was even more guarded and sneered. I was almost fooled by you. Earlier on, I was the one who asked you guys to leave. However, my older brother did not agree to it, and neither did our brothers around us. After saying that, many cultivators from the forest on both sides of the blood path closed in on Su Zimo and the others, surrounding them with unfriendly expressions. The short-haired burly man smiled. Brother Su, you don't have to be nervous. I'm only keeping you guys by my side. I won't kill or rob you guys. Once today's matter is over, I'll naturally let you guys leave. For now, I'll have to impose on you guys. When he heard that, Duan Tianliang's expression softened and he heaved a sigh of relief. No matter what, he managed to survive. Right from the beginning, Su Zimo had a calm expression. However, the confusion in his heart intensified. The short-haired burly man pondered for a moment before saying to the red-robed woman beside him, Little sister, suppress them and guard them personally. Pausing for a moment, a murderous glint flashed through the short-haired burly man's eyes as he said in a deep voice, If those 2 men or beasts make any strange movements, don't show mercy. Kill them without mercy. To the short-haired burly man, the only way to ensure that nothing went wrong with Su Zimo's group was if they were guarded by a grade 6 black immortal. Don't worry, big brother. The red-robed woman nodded with a resolute gaze. Duan Tianliang stole a glance at Su Zimo. With a relaxed expression, Su Zimo smiled. Let's go. To think that we would be reduced to prisoners so quickly. Su Zimo had no intention of resisting for the time being. He wanted to see the background of this group of people and what they wanted. When the red-robed woman saw how cooperative Su Zimo was, she did not make things difficult for them and merely brought them to a forest far away, watching them from the side. The short-haired burly man looked at Su Zimo's back view and frowned slightly in deep thought. Big brother, did you discover anything? The black-robed young man asked. The short-haired burly man shook his head. No, I just feel like I've seen this person somewhere before. He looks familiar. Strange. The black-robed young man added hurriedly. I had the same feeling earlier on, but I can't remember where I've seen him before. Forget it, we'll talk about this later. Let's hide first, and not expose our tracks. The short-haired burly man took a deep breath and waved his hand, shouting softly. Retreat. The moment he said that, hundreds of figures disappeared rapidly into the forest on both sides of the blood path. They were extremely fast and disciplined. In a few breaths, the blood path returned to normal. The red-robed woman glared at Su Zimo and Duan Tianliang and whispered, "No matter what you see later on, don't make a sound. Otherwise." Slapping her storage bag, the red-robed woman withdrew a cold saber and pointed it at Su Zimo and Duan Tianliang. Her meaning was clear. Duan Tianliang's head nodded repeatedly like a chick pecking at rice. Su Zimo merely smiled without saying anything. Chapter 1825 Massive Battle. Chapter 1825 Massive Battle. Time slowly passed. Both sides of the blood path were silent and sinister, filled with a faint killing intent. Night descended. Guarded by many bandits in the forest, Su Zimo was not as nervous as Duan Tianliang. He had a calm expression, as though he could not sense any danger and had been resting with his eyes closed. Even the red-robed woman was surprised. "I wonder if he's truly courageous or heartless," the red-robed woman muttered internally. Suddenly, Su Zimo opened his eyes and the divine light in them shone brightly before vanishing. "Calm. Sensing something, the red-robed woman was instantly on guard. Gripping the saber in her hands tightly, she glared at Su Zimo and whispered, "What are you doing?" "Someone's here," Su Zimo said softly. The red-robed woman frowned slightly and did not dare to use her spirit consciousness to check, afraid that she would alert the enemy. She listened for a moment but did not hear anything. Her expression darkened as she whispered, "You had better behave yourself and not play any tricks. If you continue to spout nonsense, don't blame me for spilling your blood on the spot." Su Zimo smiled and did not argue. Another 15 minutes passed. Suddenly, the red-robed woman's expression changed. She sensed a commotion in the distance. Many cultivators were rushing over. Right then, the short-haired burly man and black-robed young man turned around and nodded slightly at the red-robed woman. The short-haired burly man and black-robed young man had clearly sensed it as well. Suddenly, the red-robed woman recalled something and glanced at Su Zimo with a bewildered expression. That was because 15 minutes ago, that person suddenly reminded her that someone was here. But how was that possible? Calm. This person was only a grade 5 black immortal, but he had such terrifying hearing? However, if that person had not sensed it beforehand, could it have been a coincidence? Suddenly, the red-robed woman felt that the green-robed man seemed to be shrouded by a layer of fog and became unfathomable. Su Zimo looked straight, seemingly unmoved by the red-robed woman's scrutinizing gaze. Before long, an irregular vibration came from the ground far away. This time round, even Duan Tianliang noticed it. "About 1,000 people." The red-robed woman listened carefully, and made a judgment before relaxing her expression. This situation was similar to the news they had received previously. If nothing went wrong, today's matter would definitely succeed. Su Zimo shook his head gently and said softly, "More than that." "What?" The red-robed woman was stunned. Before she could understand the meaning of Su Zimo's words, the blood path not far ahead was already filled with figures. The army of more than 1,000 people had already entered everyone's line of sight. Duan Tianliang's eyes widened when he saw the war flag of the army through the forest. Big Yellow was shocked as well. It was the war flag of Blood Sun Valley. Even Su Zimo was slightly surprised. He had not expected that the red-robed woman's group would harbor designs on Blood Sun Valley. Blood Sun Valley was one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star. Typically, even the 4 great bandits would not engage the 8 factions in a fight casually. Su Zimo's eyesight was extremely strong, and he could clearly see the appearances of the cultivators in the army. Their leader was someone he was familiar with, Blood Sun Valley's young master, Chen Xianyang. After 10 years, Chen Xianyang was still at grade 6 black immortal. Chen Xianyang wore white armor and wielded a long spear. He rode on a tall horse and looked extremely dignified. An older old man followed beside Chen Xianyang. The old man was barehanded and did not wear any armor. He wore a gray robe and had a calm expression as his hair that was half black and white fell casually. The old man was a grade 7 black immortal. From the looks of it, the army led by Qin Xianyang was prepared to head to Dragon Abyss City. The strength of both parties seemed similar. As Qin Xianyang approached the ambush spot of the short-haired burly man and the others, the red-robed woman became extremely nervous as well. She looked at Qin Xianyang's side while glaring at Su Zimo. The red-robed woman had a stern gaze and warned Su Zimo not to move or make any sound. Suddenly, the short-haired burly man raised his arm and hollered, "Kill!" Swoosh! 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 Many cultivators who were lying in ambush in the forest suddenly threw out the spears in their hands with all their might. They tore through the air with a shuddering sound. The spears arrived at the same time, and shot towards the Blood Sun Valley army in the middle of the blood path like a rain of arrows. Qin Xianyang's lips curled slightly with a mocking look in his eyes. The old man beside him suddenly hollered. The army of more than 1,000 people from Blood Sun Valley seemed to be prepared and changed formations rapidly, forming a gigantic circle. The cultivators of Blood Sun Valley at the outermost perimeter withdrew gigantic shields from their storage bags and held them in front of them. Some of the Blood Sun Valley cultivators in the middle raised their shields above their heads. With that, the army of Blood Sun Valley formed an impenetrable defensive formation. With a series of clanging sounds, the Blood Sun Valley army blocked all the spears. A few of the spears that were aimed at Qin Xianyang were deflected by him with a relaxed wave of his hands. Su Zimo shook his head gently. It was clear from the current situation that Blood Sun Valley was long prepared. If the short-haired burly man and the others continued attacking, they would most likely be surrounded by Blood Sun Valley. The wisest choice right now was to lead everyone to retreat. A hesitant look flashed through the short-haired burly man's eyes when he saw how quickly Blood Sun Valley reacted. His rationality told him that his plan had failed. However, the arrow was already on the bow and had to be released. He was indignant if he were to retreat just like that. Just as he was hesitating, the black-robed young man beside him could not hold it in any longer and took the lead to charge forward, shouting, "Brothers, kill! Take revenge for the dead! We'll make Blood Sun Valley pay with blood! Let Blood Sun Valley pay with their blood!" The blood of many cultivators surged and they couldn't care less as they charged out of the forest towards the army of Blood Sun Valley. When the short-haired burly man saw that, he could only roar and charge forward on his ferocious beast with his gigantic axe. The other party had a Grade 7 Black Immortal. He had to get rid of the Grade 7 Black Immortal. Ha ha! Qin Xianyang looked at the many cultivators charging over without any fear in his eyes. Instead, he reared his head in laughter. Good timing! Sky Pillar Stronghold, Wind Cloud Gang, Honor Villa? I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find you survivors. To think that you would come knocking on my door today! Today, I'll make the survivors of your 3 factions disappear from the Dragon Abyss Star. Kill! Qin Xianyang raised his spear and shouted. The old man beside him leaped up and charged towards the short-haired burly man. Chapter 1826 Where's that person? Chapter 1826 Where's that person? The black-robed young man unsheathed the sword on his back and charged towards Qin Xianyang, who was at the front, saying coldly, Die, Qin Xianyang! Buzz! A sword hum sounded, accompanied by chilling sword lights. The black-robed young man conjured a sword art with one hand and stabbed forward with his sword with the other. Instantly, dozens of sword lights burst forth with countless shadows. That sword technique was extremely extraordinary, and every single sword beam emitted a sharp edge. Humph! Qin Xianyang sneered with a mocking expression. The shadowless sword is truly way too weak in your hands. I'll send you to the afterlife today! He channeled his blood chi and waved the spear in his hands, causing heaven and earth essence chi to swirl around it. As though it was alive, the spear stabbed towards the black-robed young man like a spirit snake. The sword and spear collided. Cling! Clang! The sound of metal clashing echoed and sparks flew. Sword chi and spear shadows tore through the air in all directions. The moment the two of them exchanged blows, they released the most intense attacks without relenting at all. On the other side, the short-haired burly man was already exchanging blows with the gray-robed old man from Blood Sun Valley. It was clear that the short-haired burly man specialized in body tempering, as he wielded a gigantic axe that could split the heavens. Every single move he made was massive, forceful, and ferocious. Although the gray-robed old man did not seem like an expert, every single move he made possessed an extremely terrifying power. The gray-robed old man fought the short-haired burly man barehanded without retreating at all. A clanging sound echoed when his palm collided with the short-haired burly man's gigantic axe. If one focused their gaze, they would discover that the gray-robed old man was wearing a pair of silver gloves that were indestructible. Even the short-haired burly man's gigantic axe could not shake them. "Little cub, how long have you been at the level 7 Black Essence realm?" The gray-robed old man sneered proudly. "I've been at the level 7 Black Essence realm for tens of thousands of years. How dare you harbor designs on Blood Sun Valley with your puny methods? Old dog, you're old and your blood chi is weak." The short-haired burly man was not affected at all. Instead, his aura intensified as he shouted, "I'm at my peak and my blood chi is strong. I can exhaust you to death even if I have to. What if we're included?" Right then, two figures suddenly appeared from behind Blood Sun Valley. Their auras were terrifying, and they were no different from the gray-robed old man. They were two Grade 7 Black Immortals. "Kill!" The Grade 7 Black Immortal on the left was a skinny man with shifty eyes. Wielding two daggers in both hands, the person strode in a strange manner, and arrived beside the short-haired burly man in the blink of an eye. On the right was a woman with heavy makeup. She was extremely flirtatious and held a silver needle that was as thin as a cow's hair in her fingers. Standing far away, she smiled at the short-haired burly man. Even though Su Zimo and the others were far away from the battlefield, they could smell the pungent fragrance coming from the woman in makeup. "This is bad!" The red-robed woman's expression changed starkly as she exclaimed, "It's the shadowless assassin and goddess Orchid! We've fallen into an ambush! Blood Sun Valley was long prepared." The moment she said that, a shocking change happened on the battlefield. The shadowless assassin with two daggers arrived beside the short-haired burly man and suddenly attacked. His daggers circled around the latter's body like a cyclone. The short-haired burly man was entangled by the gray-robed old man and could not divert his attention at all. He was left with no choice but to forcibly retreat. Even so, a gigantic wound appeared on his arm with fresh blood flowing. Boom! The gray-robed old man seized the opportunity and punched down. The short-haired burly man endured the pain and clashed against the gray-robed old man once more. At the same time, the short-haired burly man felt his heart skip a beat, as though a calamity was about to descend the next moment. Before he could react, a silver orchid floated before him with a pungent fragrance. "Ah!" The short-haired burly man was alarmed and retreated hurriedly. This was the doing of Goddess Orchid. The orchid was condensed by Goddess Orchid using silver needles. It contained poison and was extremely lethal once released. Hee hee hee! Goddess Orchid stood far away and laughed. "Little brother Yuhao, I showed mercy earlier on. If I really wanted to kill you, you would have been a dead man." "Orchid!" The gray-robed old man frowned slightly. "You can have any man you want. Hurry and join forces to kill this lad." Sigh. Goddess Orchid sighed gently. "I'm truly reluctant. Little brother Yuhao, I'll give you a chance. If you're obedient, I'll spare your life. How about that? Old witch, how dare you seduce me with that attitude of yours?" The short-haired burly man laughed fearlessly. Instantly, Goddess Orchid's expression darkened and turned extremely terrible. "Little cub, I gave you face but you don't want it. Let's see which of you can escape today." Suddenly, her tone changed and turned sinister. At the same time, when the black-robed young man saw the short-haired burly man in danger, he was slightly distracted and was almost stabbed by Chen Xuanyang's spear, flustered for a moment. "Blood Sun Divine Spear!" Qin Xianyang seized the opportunity and suddenly attacked upon discovering the black-robed young man's opening. He spun his spear rapidly with both hands and drew arcs in midair that vaguely transformed into a blood-colored sun. Clang! When the black-robed young man's sword struck the blood-colored sun, he suddenly felt an extremely domineering power that sent his sword flying. In the blink of an eye, the black-robed young man was in danger as well. Kill! Right then, iron hooves sounded and dust billowed. A large army of cultivators rode on horses and surged over with a murderous aura. The war flag of Blood Sun Valley was extremely striking. There were 4,000 cultivators. Blood Sun Valley did not send 1,000 troops this time round, but a full 5,000. When they saw that, the hundreds of cultivators on the side of the short-haired burly man had ashen expressions and deep despair flashed through their eyes. It's over! The red-robed woman knew very well that there was a high chance that all of them would be annihilated this time round. Mistress, we can't hold them back anymore. Hurry and leave! Right then, a severely injured cultivator stumbled over and looked at the red-robed woman, saying that with the last of his strength. The red-robed woman's face was pale. Although her eyes shone with fear, her gaze quickly turned resolute as she grit her teeth. My first and second brothers are in danger. I can't escape alone. I have to save them. Just as the red-robed woman was about to leave, she seemed to have thought of something and turned around hurriedly, saying to Su Zimo and Duan Tianliang, Hurry and escape, the further the better. After saying that, she was stunned. The green-robed cultivator behind her had already vanished. However, she did not notice it the entire time. Where's that person? The red-robed woman asked instinctively. Duan Tianliang blinked and pointed to the battlefield in the distance. He seems to be there. The red-robed woman suddenly turned back and looked at the battlefield. Immediately after, she saw a scene that she would never forget for the rest of her life. Chapter 1827 Consecutive Kills. Chapter 1827 Consecutive Kills. Unknowingly, the green-robed cultivator had already arrived on the battlefield. Furthermore, he was already behind the shadowless assassin. Perhaps due to the chaos of the battlefield or the fact that the attention of the shadowless assassin was entirely on the short-haired burly man, he did not notice the approaching danger. In any case, by the time the red-robed woman looked over, Su Zimo was already standing behind the shadowless assassin. The two of them were extremely close. Immediately after, as though he sensed something, the shadowless assassin dodged to the side without turning back. Su Zimo attacked. There were no earth-shaking methods or divine powers or immortal arts. He merely extended his palm and slapped the shadowless assassin on the head. It was so fast that the shadowless assassin could not dodge at all. Piak! There was a crisp sound. Right in front of the red-robed woman, the head of the shadowless assassin was smashed by Su Zimo's palm like a round watermelon, exploding with blood splattering everywhere. That power was enough to shatter the shadowless assassin's essence spirit. A grade 7 black immortal was dead. Shadowless! The gray-robed old man hollered with a furious expression. Goddess Orchid narrowed her eyes as well. The shadowless assassin was not the only one. Even the gray-robed old man and Goddess Orchid did not notice how Su Zimo arrived behind the shadowless assassin. By the time they noticed something unusual, they saw the shadowless assassin slapped to death by Su Zimo. The gray-robed old man's spirit consciousness swept past Su Zimo rapidly. Level 5 Black Essence Realm. The gray-robed old man relaxed slightly. A mere grade 5 black immortal was of no threat to them. At the same time, he lamented internally. The shadowless assassin was way too careless. If that was not the case, how could he be ambushed and killed by a single palm strike? Almost everyone who saw that would make that judgment. That was because no one believed that a grade 5 black immortal would possess the strength to kill a grade 7 black immortal. Actually, the gray-robed old man and the others did not know. In order to kill the shadowless assassin as soon as possible, Su Zimo even used the true Dragon 9 flashes. This was a movement technique equivalent to teleportation. How could anyone notice Su Zimo flashing behind the shadowless assassin in such a chaotic battlefield? In other words, Su Zimo chose to attack the shadowless assassin earlier on. If he chose to attack the gray-robed old man or goddess Orchid, the outcome would be the same as the shadowless assassin. That terrifying movement technique was a part of his strength to begin with. In the forest far away, the red-robed woman's expression did not relax. Even if the shadowless assassin was dead, Blood Sun Valley still had 2 Grade 7 Black Immortals and an army of 5,000. On their side, the short-haired burly man and black-robed young man were already injured. Of the remaining hundreds of people, almost half of them were injured or dead in the short collision, and the losses were immense. They had still lost this battle. Just as the red-robed woman was about to move and join the battlefield, she saw the green-robed man who was only at the level 5 Black Essence realm charge towards the gray-robed old man. A Grade 5 Black Immortal wants to challenge a Grade 7 Black Immortal head-on? Is he courting death? That thought flashed through the red-robed woman's mind. You overestimate yourself! The gray-robed old man glared at the incoming Suzimo with a cold expression and said slowly, I was just about to look for you. Very well, you came knocking on my door instead. He strode forward and his blood chi surged. His fist shone with silver light and smashed towards Suzimo. Immobilize! With a calm expression, Suzimo channeled his essence spirit and suddenly spoke. Lesser divine power, body immobilization technique. The gray-robed old man shuddered. After all, there was a difference of 2 cultivation realms between them. Almost instantly, the gray-robed old man broke free from the body immobilization technique and was not affected much. Humph! The gray-robed old man sneered. Puny tricks! Is that so? Suzimo smiled indifferently. I'll take your life with these puny tricks. A momentary pause was enough for him. Suddenly, a battered bronze square tripod flew out from his glabella and smashed towards the gray-robed old man. The gray-robed old man had just broken free from the body immobilization technique, and could not dodge in time. He could only raise his fists and punch towards the incoming bronze square tripod. Crack! 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 The next moment, the sound of bones cracking echoed in an extremely terrifying manner. Right in front of the red-robed woman, the gray-robed old man's glove shattered and the bones in his arms were snapped into pieces by the bronze square tripod. Back then, even the indestructible giant race could not defend against the power of the bronze square tripod, let alone this gray-robed old man. Ah! Blood drained from the gray-robed old man's face as he let out a tragic cry. His arms slumped down limply and the bones within were shattered by the bronze square tripod. For a black immortal, although such an injury was not fatal, he was basically crippled. The gray-robed old man's cry came to an abrupt stop. Suzimo leaped forward and raised the bronze square tripod, smashing it on the gray-robed old man's head. Bang! The gray-robed old man's head was shattered and his essence spirit was destroyed, dying on the spot. Instantly, changes happened on the battlefield. Nobody expected that the situation would change in the blink of an eye. On the side of Blood Sun Valley, 2 Grade 7 Black Immortals died one after another. Furthermore, the 2 of them died way too quickly that not many people could react. For Suzimo, the key to this battle was to kill the 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals as soon as possible with thunderous methods. If the 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals were dead, the rest would not be a threat. It's you! Qin Xianyang finally noticed that, and his gaze landed on Suzimo. His heart skipped a beat, and his eyes were filled with endless hatred. Back then, he lost 7 personal guards in order to hunt down Suzimo. For the past 10 years, he could not find Suzimo despite the bounty of the evil wolf army. To think that he would bump into the latter here. Furthermore, this person had spoiled his plans the moment he appeared. Qin Xianyang's eyes were bloodshot as hatred burned within him. He pointed his spear at Suzimo and roared, Kill! Kill this man! Instantly, at least 1,000 people from Blood Sun Valley charged towards Suzimo and attacked one after another. At the same time, Goddess Orchid had a grim expression and did not dare to be careless. Waving her sleeves, 10 silver orchids burst forth and shot towards Suzimo. The 10 orchids almost locked the space around Suzimo. Every single orchid was formed from more than 100 silver needles. 10 orchids meant more than 1,000 silver needles. If they descended beside Su Zimo and suddenly exploded, the lethality would be extremely terrifying. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as he channeled his essence spirit. Circling his hands in front of him, he rapidly conjured a gigantic shield that seemed to be etched with mysterious patterns and shone with a blinding light. Innate Divine Power, Spirit Turtle Shield. Chapter 1828 Death of Orchid. Chapter 1828 Death of Orchid. The 10 silver orchids emitted a pungent fragrance, and exploded the moment they made contact with the divine light released by the Spirit Turtle Shield. Every single orchid released more than 100 needles that were as thin as a cow's hair that struck the Spirit Turtle Shield instantly. The Spirit Turtle Shield was an innate divine power imparted to Su Zimo by Daiyu. Not only did it possess an extremely terrifying defense, it could even release a powerful recoil. There was a difference of 2 minor realms between Su Zimo and Goddess Orchid. If she were to release a powerful divine power or immortal art, the Spirit Turtle Shield would only be able to defend against it. However, the terror of the 10 silver orchids was not in their strength, but the silver needles that were pervasive and as thin as hair. If those soft silver needles scattered in midair, they would release an extremely terrifying lethality. However, they could not penetrate the Spirit Turtle Shield at all. On the contrary, the 1,000-odd silver needles splattered in all directions rapidly after receiving the recoil of the Spirit Turtle Shield. At that moment, more than 1,000 cultivators of Blood Sun Valley had just charged forward, and some of them were met with such a calamity before they could even get close. The silver needles entered the bodies of the Blood Sun Valley cultivators one after another. Because the silver needles were thin and pierced through flesh, everyone did not feel any pain and merely felt a slight itch. However, the poison in the silver needles spread through their bodies and even surged into their consciousnesses before they could take a few steps. By the time those cultivators noticed something amiss, it was already too late. Their faces had long turned silver white, as though there was a layer of silver frost on them. They fell limply with widened eyes and died with grievances. Some cultivators reacted in time and escaped from the battlefield with their essence spirits. However, in the upper world, without a body and only an essence spirit left, it was no different from a wandering ghost. There were also some extremely alert cultivators who managed to survive by using their black-gray Dharmic treasures to defend against many silver needles. Even so, Goddess Orchid's attack this time round killed at least 500 cultivators of Blood Sun Valley. When he saw that, the short-haired burly man was invigorated and could not help but burst into laughter. "Ha! Old witch, you sure are decisive to be so ruthless to your own people. If you attack a few more times, the remaining 4,000-odd people in Blood Sun Valley will be killed by you as well." Many Blood Sun Valley cultivators knew that everything that happened earlier was an accident. Or rather, it was not Goddess Orchid's fault. Even so, many Blood Sun Valley cultivators stopped in their tracks and did not dare to advance, afraid that they would be implicated by the fight between Goddess Orchid and Su Zimo. "Junior, you set me up!" Goddess Orchid's expression was dark as she glared at Su Zimo, who was approaching her rapidly, her tone venomous. "You think too highly of yourself. I wasn't trying to set you up." Su Zimo's gaze intensified as he said coldly, "I only want your life." Before his sentence was finished, Su Zimo suddenly extended his palm, and it was as though a gigantic millstone was formed in midair. It crushed down towards Goddess Orchid with a ferocious aura. Great Chaos Essence Palm. This was the ultimate technique of Chaos Essence sect in the lower world. It was long mastered by the Martial Dao Prime Body and fused into the Martial Dao Furnace. Before he ascended, he had already imparted it to the Green Lotus True Body. "You must have a death wish." Goddess Orchid was not afraid at all and extended her seemingly fair and weak palm, slapping towards Su Zimo's palm. "Brother Su, watch out!" the short-haired burly man reminded hurriedly. "This old witch is filled with poison and we can't have any contact with her." Just as he was about to leap up and join forces with Su Zimo, he felt his head spin and almost fell to the ground. Not good! The short-haired burly man was alarmed. I've been tricked! Earlier on, Goddess Orchid released an orchid. Although it did not hit him, it brushed past his eyes. He was already poisoned by the fragrance of the silver orchid. The poison was not too strong and could not threaten his life for the time being. Even so, it was difficult for him to join the battlefield for the time being, and he could only channel his blood chi to fight against the poison in his body. Kill! At the same time, many cultivators of Blood Sun Valley stood far away and summoned Dharmic treasures one after another, smashing them towards Su Zimo's back and head. Instantly, Su Zimo was surrounded from both sides. Bang! Su Zimo's great Chaos Essence palm collided with Goddess Orchid's palm. In a flash, Su Zimo waved his sleeves without turning back, and suddenly, a handful of yellow sand formed an impenetrable barrier behind him. Bang! 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 Hundreds of Dharmic treasures struck the yellow sand but could not penetrate it, and fell from midair. 9 heavens living soil. On the other side. The moment Goddess Orchid exchanged blows with Su Zimo, she realized that something was amiss. An extremely terrifying power of distortion, suppression and obliteration burst forth from the great Chaos Essence palm. Goddess Orchid was not a body-tempered cultivator, and had a weak physique. Even if her cultivation realm was higher than Su Zimo's, she could not defend against the Green Lotus true body and the power of the great Chaos Essence palm in melee combat. Victory was already decided the moment the two of them exchanged blows. Ah! Goddess Orchid shrieked tragically, and her slender hand was ground into a pulp by the great Chaos Essence palm, almost snapped from the wrist. She retreated violently and endured the pain. She glared at Su Zimo and grit her teeth. Junior, you're dead! In less than 3 breaths, you'll die from the poison! The poison in her palm was even more terrifying than the poison on the silver needles. Although Goddess Orchid was injured, she believed that Su Zimo was dead for sure. Foo-foo. Su Zimo chuckled and shook his head. Sorry to disappoint you. The poison in your body can't hurt me. The Grade 9 Creation Green Lotus was flawless and immune to poison. Even the impurities contained in the essence condensation pills would be purged by the Green Lotus true body, let alone external poison. Initially, Goddess Orchid was standing not far away, waiting for Su Zimo to die from the poison. However, Su Zimo's blood chi surged as he strode over. His face was rosy and his eyes were bright. He did not show any signs of being poisoned. You! Finally, a hint of panic flashed through Goddess Orchid's eyes. She suddenly realized something terrifying. It was as though all her methods had no effect on the green-robed man before her. As Su Zimo closed in, the fear in Goddess Orchid's heart intensified. Finally, she shrieked and let go of all her dignity, turning to flee. As a Grade 7 Black Immortal, she chose to escape against a Grade 5 Black Immortal. However, she could not escape. Instead, she felt as though something was coiling around her feet. Goddess Orchid lowered her head. Unknowingly, emerald green vines had crawled beneath her feet and restricted her to the spot. A Grade 9 Creation Green Lotus could mobilize all the vegetation in the forest with a single thought. It's over! The moment that thought crossed Goddess Orchid's mind, she felt a pain at the back of her head. The next moment, she lost consciousness completely. Chapter 1829 Apocalyptic. Chapter 1829 Apocalyptic. Given her capabilities, Goddess Orchid could naturally break free from the restraints of the grass and vines beneath her feet with ease. However, those plants merely restricted her figure for a moment. That was enough for Su Zimo. Right in front of many gazes, Su Zimo strode forward and pierced Goddess Orchid's head with a single finger, destroying her essence spirit. The next moment, she fell to the ground and died like the withered grass beneath her feet. At this point of the battle, 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals of Blood Sun Valley had died. From the moment Su Zimo attacked till the death of the 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals, the entire process merely took a dozen breaths. Everything had happened too quickly. In fact, many cultivators could not accept the fact for a moment. Young master, what should we do? The remaining few grade 6 black immortals of Blood Sun Valley were flustered as they looked at Qin Xianyang and asked softly with frightened expressions. Qin Xianyang's expression darkened. The death of 3 grade 7 black immortals here had a huge impact on the entire situation. Everything else aside, the morale of Blood Sun Valley took a huge blow. At that moment, fear flashed through the eyes of many Blood Sun Valley cultivators. Qin Xianyang was indignant. The short-haired burly man and the others were survivors of the 3 major factions and had been secretly opposing Blood Sun Valley all these years. Qin Xianyang had painstakingly waited for this day to set up a trap to wipe out this group of people in one fell swoop. Was he going to return empty-handed today? Furthermore, Su Zimo was also a thorn in his flesh that he had to kill. Was he going to return to Blood Sun Valley just like this today? At that moment, Qin Xianyang had yet to realize that the current situation was no longer in his control. He was still thinking about whether to retreat or fight. Su Zimo was already prepared to attack and keep them in the 100,000 mountains. I can't retreat! Before long, Qin Xianyang made a decision. If he retreated, not only would he lose all face, even Blood Sun Valley's reputation would plummet, and it would be mocked by the other factions of the Dragon Abyss Star. Kill! Qin Xianyang grit his teeth and said coldly. He's only a grade 5 black immortal. The only reason why he was able to kill Shadowless and the others was because he had some unorthodox methods. Including me, we have 5 grade 6 black immortals and more than 4,000 cultivators from Blood Sun Valley. I don't believe that we can't kill a grade 5 black immortal with our full strength. Everyone, listen up! I'll reward 100,000 essence condensation pills to anyone who manages to kill him, Qin Xianyang declared. Brave men were bound to appear in the face of handsome rewards. Initially, many Blood Sun Valley cultivators were fearful. However, when they heard that, many of them looked at Su Zimo with burning gazes. Even a few hesitant grade 6 black immortals were tempted. That's right, kill him! A grade 6 black immortal stood out and said in a deep voice. He has already used many methods to kill Shadowless and the others earlier on. Everyone, be careful and avoid those methods. Earlier on, everyone witnessed Su Zimo summoning a battered tripod and smashing the gray-robed old man to death. Therefore, many cultivators would try their best to avoid head-on collisions with the bronze square tripod. Condense! A one-eyed grade 6 black immortal suddenly attacked and hollered. Standing far away, he channeled his essence spirit and released a lesser divine power. The power of divine powers spread in midair, and formed a spinning eyeball that glared at Su Zimo with a strange gaze. Boom! Another grade 6 black immortal attacked at the same time and released his lesser divine powers. The power of divine powers spread and approached rapidly, forming a spinning axe in midair that slashed towards Su Zimo's head. The other few grade 6 black immortals attacked one after another, and released their lesser divine powers. Humph! Su Zimo had a fearless expression, and channeled his blood chi. With a shudder, he broke free from the power of the divine power eyeball. He conjured different sword arts with both hands and shouted, Slay! Su Zimo waved his hands and slashed forward with his sword finger. The sword art in his left hand slashed out a dragon snake. A dragon roar sounded from the firmaments, and a divine dragon descended, charging into the crowd and killing in all directions. The ground split open and the soaring serpent soared into the skies with flames blazing on its wings. Roaring loudly, it spewed out streams of scorching lava that splashed into the crowd. Ah! Ah! All. The 4,000-odd cultivators of Blood Sun Valley were flustered and fell into a sea of flames, letting out hysterical cries. A blinding sword chi burst forth from Su Zimo's right hand. It was white and extremely sharp, as though it was slicing the world into pieces. When the heaven's killing intent is released, the stars are shifted out of alignment. When the earth's killing intent is released, the dragon snake shall rise. The 2 sword arts burst forth at the same time with a boiling killing intent that threatened to destroy the world. Even if some cultivators could escape from the claws of the divine dragon, they could not escape from the flames of the soaring serpent. Even if they could avoid the massacre of the dragon snake, it would be difficult for them to defend against the sharpness of the heaven-slaying sword chi. Even the lesser divine powers released by the Grade 6 Black Immortals were destroyed by the heaven-slaying sword chi, let alone the Grade 3, 4 and 5 Black Immortals. Although the eyeball had a strange power, it was extremely fragile, and was pierced by a single heaven-slaying sword chi. Before the axe could descend on Suzimo, it was slashed by a few heaven-slaying sword chi and dissipated into the world. That scene was extremely shocking. It was as though the apocalypse had arrived and those black immortals were like insignificant ants that struggled and howled helplessly. Standing in the forest, the red-robed woman was completely dumbfounded. Her mouth was slightly agape and her eyes were filled with endless shock. Was that power truly something that a Grade 5 Black Immortal could release? Even Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow and the Ying Zhao Winston gasped, let alone her. Although they had been by Su Zimo's side for 10 years, they had never seen him attack. None of them expected such a terrifying scene to appear the moment Su Zimo attacked. Actually, the cultivators on the Dragon Abyss Star had ascended from the lower world and had never gone far before. Their knowledge was limited and they could not recognize the two great sword arts. If any of the native exalted immortals saw this, they would definitely be shocked. Even in the upper world, the heaven and earth slaying sword arts were notorious. It was only logical that the two sword arts could release such terrifying power. On the battlefield, the two sword arts were released and fresh blood splattered everywhere in a tragic manner. The few Grade 6 Black Immortals could only barely protect themselves with their Dharmic treasures and divine powers. At that moment, the few people who wanted to join forces to kill Su Zimo earlier on were already filled with deep fear. Right then, Su Zimo flew through the air. A Grade 6 Black Immortal looked nervous as he glared at Su Zimo, who was not far away. He felt that one of Su Zimo's eyes was shining brighter and brighter, turning extremely striking. Suddenly, a blinding light burst forth from Su Zimo's right eye and entered the person's glabella instantly. Illumination Eye. Caught off guard, the Grade 6 Black Immortal was killed on the spot by Illumination Eye. You still want to avoid my methods? Su Zimo sneered. Do you think you can even dodge my methods? Chapter 1830 Broken Arm. Chapter 1830 Broken Arm. After experiencing the heavenly tribulation and absorbing heaven and earth essence chi, Illumination Eye became even more terrifying. A beam of light pierced the glabella of the Grade 6 Black Immortal. The remaining few Grade 6 Black Immortals did not dare to accept the challenge and fled into the distance. In the blink of an eye, the space between Qin Xianyang and Su Zimo became empty without anyone stopping him. Their gazes met directly. Qin Xuanyang's eyes were filled with deep hatred and killing intent as he glared at Su Zimo and said coldly, Su Zimo, you're finished. You offended the evil wolf army, Blood Sun Valley, and even spoiled my plans twice in a row. There's no place for you on the Dragon Abyss Star. Fu! Su Zimo shook his head gently and chuckled with a disdainful expression. I haven't seen you do anything to me for the past 10 years. Chen Xuanyang's expression was terrible as he said hatefully, If I had known, I would have killed you personally 10 years ago. Cut the crap. Stepping on air, Su Zimo approached Qin Xianyang rapidly and said indifferently, I'll give you that chance today. The other cultivators of Blood Sun Valley could barely fend for themselves against the two great sword arts. The few Grade 6 Black Immortals were scared out of their wits by Su Zimo and were fleeing into the distance. No one dared to stop him. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo had already arrived before Qin Xianyang. Kill! Qin Xianyang took a deep breath and bit his tongue gently, spitting out a stream of essence blood onto the spear in his hands. Immediately after, Qin Xianyang channeled his essence spirit, and his blood chi surged. He spun the spear in his hands wildly and circled around him, forming a blood-colored sun. This was a secret skill of Blood Sun Valley that could be used for both offense and defense, and was extremely famous on the Dragon Abyss Star. In the battle earlier on, the black-robed young man's sword was sent flying by Qin Xuanyang's secret skill. Break! Su Zimo was fearless as he welcomed the torrential blood qi. His blood qi burst forth with the sound of a tsunami as he punched the center of the blood-colored sun. Boom! A deafening bang that shook the heavens and earth sounded. A visible shockwave burst forth between the two of them and spread in all directions like a wave. Many cultivators of Blood Sun Valley were caught off guard and were sent flying by the shockwave. Worried about Su Zimo's condition, the short-haired burly man, black-robed young man and the others narrowed their gazes and looked over, ignoring the dust that was blowing towards them. Qin Xuanyang rode on his horse. The spear in his palm had already stopped spinning and his eyes were bloodshot. As for Su Zimo, he hovered in midair and did not move at all when his fist struck the center of Qin Xuanyang's spear. The two of them seemed to have stopped. The next moment, the horse that Qin Xuanyang was riding on let out a tragic cry as fresh blood spewed from its nostrils. With a thud, it sprawled on the ground. The power released by Su Zimo's punch was way too ferocious. Although the horse was clad in armor, its organs were already shattered by Su Zimo's punch and it could not survive. Immediately after, Qin Xuanyang spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. Qin Xuanyang could not hold on to his spear either, and it flew out of his hands, colliding against his chest. Swoosh! The heart-protecting mirror in front of his chest was shattered by the spear. Qin Xuanyang shuddered. Even though he was wearing a treasure armor and blocked most of the power, his organs were still shaken violently. His spear shattered his heart-protecting mirror and was repelled, landing on the ground beside him. Instinctively, the short-haired burly man's gaze landed on the spear and his pupils constricted as he gasped. How was that a spear? The middle of the spear had already caved in deeply. From what he knew, Qin Xuanyang's Dharmic treasure was a superior black grade. A superior black-grade Dharmic treasure was bent by a single punch from the green-robed cultivator and was contorted to such a state, it was almost crippled. Even if the green-robed cultivator was carrying a dark-grade Dharmic treasure, the power released by that attack was terrifying enough. The short-haired burly man thought to himself that if he was in that position, he might not have been able to withstand that punch even if he attacked with his full strength. Qin Xuanyang spat out blood and leaped down from his dying horse, retreating. Su Zimo's expression was indifferent as he moved like a shadow. At the same time, Qin Xuanyang slapped his storage bag and suddenly withdrew a talisman, tearing it apart without hesitation. The moment the talisman shattered, a strange power burst forth and the void around him collapsed, revealing a pitch-black cave that led to an unknown place. Transference talisman? Su Zimo narrowed his eyes. In the upper world, space was extremely stable and even the power of a heaven immortal expert could not shatter the void. It was even more impossible for them to tear through the void and teleport away. The transference talisman of the lower world was useless in the upper world. Even if it was torn apart, it would not cause any ripples in the void. The fact that the transference talisman in Qin Xuanyang's hands could create a spatial tunnel in the upper world was proof of how precious it was. Su Zimo, no matter where you're hiding, as long as you're still on the Dragon Abyss Star, Blood Sun Valley will definitely take revenge for today's blood debt and… The moment the transference talisman was torn, Qin Xuanyang's figure had almost entered the pitch-black spatial tunnel. His voice sounded from the spatial tunnel with endless hatred. However, Su Zimo's reaction was even faster. The moment Qin Xuanyang tore the talisman, he attacked and grabbed the ladder. Su Zimo's palm entered the pitch-black spatial tunnel and seemed to have grabbed some flesh. Exerting strength in his fingers, Su Zimo's sharp fingernails shot out like swords. With a swoosh, they pierced through the flesh and yanked outwards. Ah! Before Qin Xuanyang could finish, he let out a tragic cry. Su Zimo retracted his arm. There was another arm in his palm. On the other end of the arm, flesh and bones were stuck together with fresh blood. It was a shocking sight. The black-robed young man felt his heart skip a beat. That was Qin Xuanyang's arm. Furthermore, it was torn apart by the green-robed cultivator before him. Although Qin Xuanyang managed to survive, he lost an arm. it was an irreparable injury for him. In the upper world, one could only regrow a severed arm after cultivating to the Earth Essence realm. However, it was almost impossible to cultivate to the level 8 or 9 Black Essence realm on the Dragon Abyss star, let alone the Earth Essence realm. That required immense resources and a long period of accumulation. The major factions of Dragon Abyss star, including the leaders of the 4 Great Bandits, were only at the level 8 Black Immortal realm. Level 9 Black Immortals could only be found in Dragon Abyss City. Chapter 1831 Subduing Seal. Chapter 1831 Subduing Seal. There was no doubt about the outcome of this battle. The few Grade 6 Black Immortals of Blood Sun Valley had long escaped. The remaining cultivators of Blood Sun Valley were completely defeated by the Heaven and Earth slaying sword arts, and were too dispirited to fight. Even if Suzimo did not attack, the cultivators under the command of the short-haired burly man were enough to kill everyone from Blood Sun Valley. The red-robed woman stood motionlessly in the forest, completely stunned. Right from the beginning, before she could attack, the 5,000-strong army of Blood Sun Valley was suppressed by the green-robed cultivator in the distance. However, that person was only a Grade 5 Black Immortal. When they first saw this person, they looked down on him. At that thought, the red-robed woman smiled bitterly. Back then, this person must have thought that they were nothing but a joke. "Exalted Immortal, please spare us!" On the battlefield, some Blood Sun Valley cultivators could not hold on any longer when they saw that they could not escape. They knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Suzimo, who was standing in midair. With that, the other Blood Sun Valley cultivators followed suit and knelt down. Suzimo frowned slightly. The cultivators of Blood Sun Valley were different from the Evil Wolf Army. The Evil Wolf Army was a heinous bunch of bandits that killed and looted. As for the cultivators of Blood Sun Valley, although many of them were treacherous people, they had not degenerated to the state of evil bandits. However, Suzimo did not know what to do with these people if he did not kill them. There was no way he could keep this group of people by his side. "Benefactor, if you don't know how to deal with this group of cultivators from Blood Sun Valley, you can leave it to us," the short-haired burly man said with a pale face and a weak expression. "How are you going to deal with them?" Suzimo asked instead. The short-haired burly man said, "We know a sealing technique. As long as we take away the storage bags of these cultivators and seal their cultivation realms at the level 1 Black Essence realm, we can send people to watch over them. They can be used as spirit farmers to plant immortal herbs." That was a good idea. Suzimo nodded slightly and willed. The sword chi that was initially streaking through the air, the divine dragon with a chilling killing intent in the firmaments, and the soaring serpent that was bathed in flames suddenly froze in midair. It was like a miracle. The cultivators of Blood Sun Valley who were initially wailing were scared out of their wits and fell silent, not even daring to breathe heavily. The black-robed young man arrived beside the short-haired burly man and helped him up. As for the others, they began to collect the storage bags of the Blood Sun Valley cultivators under the lead of the red-robed woman. Furthermore, they used an immortal art to seal the cultivations of the group of people. Everyone from Blood Sun Valley did not dare to resist at all. Although the white sword chi and the dragon snake condensed from it were still, they did not disperse and hovered above their heads. If they made any strange movements, the sword chi would descend and kill them. In this battle, Blood Sun Valley lost close to 3,000 people. More than 1,000 people surrendered and begged for mercy. Including Qin Xianyang, there were less than 1,000 Blood Sun Valley cultivators who escaped. Suzimo's spirit consciousness moved and he retrieved 3 storage bags from the corpses. Those 3 storage bags belonged to the 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals, the Shadowless Assassin and the other 2. "Benefactor, watch out!" When the short-haired burly man saw that, he seemed to have thought of something and reminded hurriedly. "That old witch's storage bag is poisoned." The short-haired burly man was referring to a silver-white storage bag that emitted a pungent fragrance. "No worries." Suzimo smiled faintly and picked up the storage bag. He wiped away the spirit consciousness imprint on it and opened it. There were many bottles in the storage bag. Apart from some elixirs required for cultivation, there were also bottles that contained toxic poison. Su Zimo searched carefully and took out a medicine bottle. He poured out a pill and sniffed it before nodding. This should be it. Su Zimo handed the pill to the short-haired burly man. Take it. It can dispel the poison in your body. The short-haired burly man was extremely straightforward as well. Without hesitation, he received the pill from Su Zimo and swallowed it. A look of admiration flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. Brother, don't. By the time the black-robed young man at the side spoke, the pill was already consumed. Don't worry. The short-haired burly man smiled. My benefactor won't harm me. The black-robed young man glanced at Su Zimo and muttered softly. Even so, what if he chose the wrong pill? It's fine. The short-haired burly man waved it off nonchalantly. On the other hand, the black-robed young man was extremely nervous as he guarded the short-haired burly man, afraid that something might happen. Not long after the short-haired burly man consumed the pill, color returned to his face and his aura returned to normal. He was getting more energetic. The black-robed young man heaved a sigh of relief and smiled apologetically at Su Zimo, cupping his fists. Benefactor, I'm sorry for earlier on. Su Zimo shook his head gently. He would not take such a small matter to heart. In that short period of time, the red-robed woman had already sealed more than 1,000 Blood Sun Valley cultivators and swept the battlefield clean. The red-robed woman walked over and handed Su Zimo all the Dharmic treasures and weapons gathered on the battlefield as well as storage bags. Benefactor, these are the treasures obtained from this battle. Take a look. The way the red-robed woman looked at Su Zimo was a little strange. There was curiosity, reverence, and an inexplicable brilliance. Su Zimo nodded to himself. Although the three of them had stopped and robbed them earlier on, they had principles. There were so many spoils of war and storage bags with countless cultivation resources, Dharmic treasures and weapons within. However, the red-robed woman did not even open a single storage bag and handed it over to Su Zimo without even glancing at them. Although there was a flash of envy in the eyes of the black-robed young man, he did not say anything. The short-haired burly man had a calm expression. Su Zimo did not decline and received the storage bags from the red-robed woman, putting them away. Those were things that he deserved to have. Benefactor. After removing the poison from his body, the short-haired burly man looked like he had recovered and knelt down towards Su Zimo. At the same time, the short-haired burly man looked at the black-robed young man and red-robed woman beside him. Second brother, little sister, hurry and greet our benefactor. Right from the beginning, it could be seen that the black-robed young man was an extremely proud person. However, he merely hesitated for a moment before kneeling down with the short-haired burly man and red-robed woman. There's no need for that. Su Zimo reached out and lifted the short-haired burly man's arms. Initially, the short-haired burly man was determined to kneel down. However, he could not help but stand up when Su Zimo lifted him. Chapter 1832 Past. Chapter 1832 Past. Benefactor, you're so strong. Yu Hao was slightly stunned. I'm a body-tempered cultivator to begin with, and I'm 2 cultivation realms above you. Yet I'm still unable to withstand your strength. Su Zimo smiled and did not explain. Waving his sleeves gently, he brought the black-robed young man and red-robed woman up as well. The black-robed young man cupped his fists towards Su Zimo. Benefactor, I'll take back what I said at the beginning. Given your capabilities, you're enough to reach Dragon Abyss City. My name is Su Zimo. You can just address me as fellow Daoist. Su Zimo asked. How should I address the 3 of you? My name is Yu Hao. The short-haired burly man pointed to the black-robed young man beside him. This is Shenfei and that's Gu Wenjun. The 3 of us are sworn siblings. The red-robed woman named Gu Wenjun lowered her head slightly and frowned in deep thought, saying softly, Su Zimo. That name sounds familiar. I seem to have seen it somewhere before. Shenfei said. It's strange. When we first saw fellow Daoist Su, I found him familiar as well. Oh? Su Zimo raised his brow. He had only been on the Dragon Abyss Star for less than 10 years. Apart from staying in Snow Wind Ridge for a year, he had been dormant in the Desolate Lands the entire time and had definitely not seen the three of them before. Ah! Right then, Gu Wenjun exclaimed softly. I got it! She raised her head and looked at Su Zimo with shock in her eyes. Fellow Taoist, what have you thought of? Su Zimo asked. Taking a deep breath of air, Gu Wenjun said. Fellow Taoist Su, you might not know it yet, but for the past 10 years, you've been hunted down by the evil wolf army. Just news of you alone is worth 10,000 essence condensation pills. Your life is even worth 100,000 essence condensation pills. Yu Hao and Xin Fei were enlightened as well as they recalled where they had seen Su Zimo before. Back in Dragon Abyss City, the three of them had seen a portrait of Su Zimo. Of course, the portrait merely resembled him, and could not depict a fraction of the actual person's aura. That's why the three of them could not recall it right away. The evil wolf army of the past was completely annihilated. The only one who could provide that portrait was Blood Sun Valley. Fellow Taoist Su, how did you end up offending the evil wolf army? Xin Fei asked curiously. Pondering for a moment, Su Zimo recounted the robbery of everyone from Snow Wind Ridge 10 years ago. Furthermore, he recounted everything he had heard about Blood Sun Valley's Qin Xianyang colluding with the evil wolf army. Humph! Yu Hao clenched his fists. Fellow Taoist Su, Qin Xianyang is not the only one. The entire Blood Sun Valley has been in cahoots with the evil wolf army. Immediately after, Yu Hao recounted the past. Actually, Su Zimo had heard about this from Xia Qingying before as well. Back then, there were three major factions on the Dragon Abyss Star that wanted to join forces to destroy the evil wolf army. The three major factions were Sky Pillar Stronghold, Wind Cloud Gang, and Honor Villa. However, news of it leaked out. Although the evil wolf army was defeated, their leader managed to escape death and survive. After this calamity, the cultivation of this leader had increased significantly. Before long, he made a comeback and the evil wolf army was resurrected as well. Thereafter, the evil wolf army launched a frenzied revenge on the three factions. At that time, the second of the four great bandits, the Goshawk Gang, joined forces with the evil wolf army. Under normal circumstances, even if the two of them joined forces, it would be difficult for them to destroy the three major factions. Unexpectedly, at that time, the great protector of the Sky Pillar Stronghold betrayed them and ambushed to kill the Stronghold Lord of Sky Pillar Stronghold. Thereafter, he faked an order from the Stronghold Lord of Sky Pillar Stronghold to invite the gang leader of Wind Cloud Gang as well as the Villa Master of Honor Villa over with an ambush setup. The gang leader of Wind Cloud Gang as well as the Villa Master of Honor Villa both died in the ensuing battle. With the leaders of the three major factions dead one after another, the morale of the factions was in chaos, and their forces scattered like sand. Under such circumstances, the great protector of Sky Pillar Stronghold, the evil wolf army and the Goshawk Gang worked together, and destroyed the three factions before long. In that battle, blood flowed like rivers and flames raged everywhere as wails could be heard. Countless cultivators died. Countless women were abducted by the evil wolf army and the Goshawk Gang and met tragic fates. At the mention of the past, Yu Hao's voice turned increasingly grim. Xin Fei and Gu Wenjun's eyes were bloodshot as well, revealing deep hatred in their eyes. The hundreds of cultivators under their lead gathered around them with sorrowful expressions, as though they recalled something. Su Zimo was silent. Duan Tianliang asked, "What happened after that?" Xin Fei laughed mockingly and continued. Later on, the great protector of Sky Pillar Stronghold established a new faction in these ruins, the current Blood Sun Valley. The great protector who betrayed his master is the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley today. Many cultivators of Blood Sun Valley were surprised. This was the first time they had heard of this. This was completely different from what they knew. Gu Wenjun said, "After all these years, apart from those who escaped back then, not many people remember that bloody battle and know the truth of the past." Su Zimo said, "The three of you are the descendants of the leaders of the three major factions, right?" "No. Yu Hao shook his head. Indeed, I'm from the Sky Pillar Stronghold. Second brother was from Wind Cloud Gang and my younger sister was from Honor Villa. However, we're not the descendants of the three leaders. In that battle, the descendants of the three leaders were killed by the evil wolf army, the Goshawk Gang and the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley. We're just the lucky ones among the three factions who managed to survive. We're the ones who want the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley, the evil wolf army and the Goshawk Gang to pay with their blood, Duan Tianliang said. No wonder you guys wanted to ambush Blood Sun Valley. So, there's such a deep feud, Yu Hao said. Fellow Daoist Su, although we're considered bandits, right from the beginning, we've never snatched anything from other cultivators or factions. We're only enemies with Blood Sun Valley, the evil wolf army and the Goshawk Gang. Su Zimo nodded. That was clear from the fact that they did not attack him right away. Furthermore, even if Yu Hao suspected Su Zimo, he did not kill him immediately. Instead, he merely sent people to watch over Su Zimo. After the battle broke out, when she saw that the situation was not right, Gu Wenjun even let them off so that they could escape for their lives. All signs indicated that these people were completely different from the way the evil wolf army in Blood Sun Valley conducted themselves. Su Zimo asked. Are these the only people you have? Of course not, Yu Hao said. We also have a stronghold called the Sun Vanquishing Stronghold. Most of the people are planting immortal herbs in the stronghold. However, we move once every 100 years to prevent ourselves from being targeted by the evil wolf army. Shen Fei said. Fellow Daoist Su, you might not know this, but Blood Sun Valley has been working with the evil wolf army all these years. When they head to Dragon Abyss City, the evil wolf army won't attack their merchant group and the two parties will split the essence condensation pills evenly. As long as it's not a merchant group from Blood Sun Valley, the evil wolf army will massacre and loot wildly. No one will be able to reach Dragon Abyss City alive. With that, the factions nearby Blood Sun Valley can only head to Blood Sun Valley to exchange for essence condensation pills. Su Zimo nodded. Snow Wind Ridge was one of those factions. Chapter 1833 Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley. Chapter 1833 Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley. In Blood Sun Valley, one could only exchange for an essence condensation pill with 100 essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower. However, Snow Wind Ridge had no other choice but to exchange for it in Blood Sun Valley. The path to Dragon Abyss City was blocked by the combined forces of Blood Sun Valley and the evil wolf army. Even if the exchange rate was 1,000 immortal herbs for a single pill, the other factions would have to endure it, let alone 100 to 1. Fellow Daoist Su, have you been to Dragon Abyss City? Yu Hao asked. Su Zimo shook his head. Yu Hao said, If you don't mind, the three of us siblings are willing to accompany you to Dragon Abyss City to take a look. We can also lead the way for you. Don't you guys have to punish these prisoners? Su Zimo looked at the 1,000-odd cultivators of Blood Sun Valley who had surrendered. Shen Fei said, Fellow Daoist, you don't have to worry. These captured prisoners have their cultivation sealed. With us hundreds of brothers watching over them, nothing will go wrong. That's good too. Su Zimo nodded. Be it him or Duan Tianliang, either of them were familiar with Dragon Abyss City. It was not bad to have Yu Hao and the other two as guides. Yu Hao instructed the few cultivators behind him to escort the captured prisoners of Blood Sun Valley back to Sun Vanquishing Stronghold before heading towards Dragon Abyss City with Su Zimo and the others. At the same time, in Blood Sun Valley, in the courtyard of Qin Shuanyang's residence, the void collapsed and a dark spatial tunnel appeared. A figure drenched in blood fell out with disheveled hair and a severed arm. Many servants in the residence were shocked. Who is there? You've trespassed into Blood Sun Valley! Someone shouted. Hurry and call my father! The blood-stained figure tried his best to raise his head and growled. Everyone focused their gazes and their expressions changed. Young master! Young master! Everyone swarmed forward hurriedly to help Qin Xianyang up. That move touched the wound on Qin Shuanyang's broken arm. Qin Xuanyang's face turned even paler, as he trembled in pain. Hurry and call my father over! A servant retreated hurriedly and ran outside. Before long, a middle-aged man in blood-colored armor strode over with a dark expression. The middle-aged man was the current Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley. Behind him were two old men, both protectors of Blood Sun Valley. When the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley saw Qin Xuanyang in such a state, he could not help but narrow his eyes. The temperature of the entire residence dipped, and the atmosphere turned extremely tense. The air seemed to have frozen. Xuanyang, what's going on? The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley asked slowly with a cold voice. Father! Qin Xuanyang took a few steps and knelt in front of the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley with a thud, saying tragically, My arm was ripped off. Father, you have to seek justice and take revenge for me. The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley took out an elixir from his storage bag and fed it to Qin Xuanyang. Qin Xuanyang's face regained some color, and the wound on his broken arm showed signs of clotting. However, the pain from his wound was still excruciating. Tell me slowly, what happened? The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley asked in a deep voice. Don't you have Shadowless and the other two by your side? How did the survivors of Sky Pillar Stronghold injure you? Father, the three of them are dead, Qin Xuanyang said. What? The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley was shocked. The 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals were protectors in Blood Sun Valley. They were not to be underestimated even in the entire Dragon Abyss Star. The death of 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals was a huge loss for Blood Sun Valley. Qin Xuanyang laughed bitterly. I don't think many people from the 5,000-strong army survived this time round. I only managed to escape alive after tearing the transference talisman you gave me. Bang! When the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley heard that, he was enraged and attacked, smashing the head of a servant beside Qin Xuanyang. Although the servant was also a Grade 3 Black Immortal, he died on the spot from the Valley Master's wrath. The other servants were scared out of their wits and knelt on the ground, trembling. Blood Sun Valley was indeed one of the 8 major factions of Dragon Abyss Star, and there were tens of thousands of troops stationed in the valley. Even so, the loss of 5,000 people and 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals was an unacceptable loss for Blood Sun Valley. Furthermore, this was a huge blow to Blood Sun Valley's reputation. Valley Master, please calm down. It's better to listen to the young master explain what happened. The old man on the left of the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley lowered his head and persuaded softly. The 2 old men were the left and right protectors of Blood Sun Valley. Their cultivation realms were at the peak of level 7 Black Essence realm, and their combat strength was second only to the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley. It's Su Zimo! The figure of the green-robed cultivator flashed through Qin Xuanyang's mind as he grit his teeth. Shadowless and the other 2 were ambushed by Su Zimo. If not for that person's sudden appearance, I would have wiped out all the survivors of Sky Pillar Stronghold long ago. What's Su Zimo? The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley frowned slightly and asked. Who is that? Why haven't I heard of him before? The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley did not take the incident 10 years ago to heart, and naturally would not care about a Grade 4 Black Immortal. The left protector pondered for a moment and asked. The person who killed all 500 of the evil wolf army 10 years ago, right? That's him, Qin Xuanyang said hatefully. The right protector frowned slightly. So it's him. I have some impression of him. A few years ago, the evil wolf army even issued a bounty for his life, but they could not find him. To think that he would appear again. Something's wrong. Suddenly, the left protector asked. 10 years ago, he was only a Grade 4 Black Immortal. In just 10 years, he broke through 3 cultivation realms in succession and cultivated to Grade 7? No, Qin Xuanyang said hurriedly. He's only a Grade 5 Black Immortal. The reason why he was able to kill Shadowless and the others was because of his sneak attacks and some strange methods. He broke through to the level 5 Black Essence realm in 10 years. That's a terrifying speed, the right protector said softly. The left protector nodded as well. No matter what methods he used, He's not simple to be able to kill 3 grade 7 black immortals across 2 cultivation realms. Chen Xianyang lamented. Father, my arm was torn off by this Su Zimo. If I hadn't reacted quickly, I wouldn't have been able to see you right now. Father, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to make him pay with blood. The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley pondered for a long time before saying slowly, Send this news to the evil wolf army. The left protector's eyes lit up. Valley Master, you're wise. Given the methods of the evil wolf army, they'll definitely search wildly for that person after receiving this news. Even without us stepping in, that person will definitely die. The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley continued. Additionally, Protector Shui, make a trip to Dragon Abyss City personally. That person has obtained many spoils of war and treasures, and there's a high chance he's heading to Dragon Abyss City. If the evil wolf army can't kill him, bring his head to me. Chapter 1834 Great Gene Country. Chapter 1834 Great Gene Country. Riding on the big yellow dog, Su Zimo headed towards Dragon Abyss City with Yu Hao, Shen Fei, and Gu Wenjun. Along the way, Su Zimo took a rough look at the rewards he obtained from killing the Blood Sun Valley cultivators and was secretly delighted. There were more than 3,000 dark-grade Dharmic treasures in those storage bags. There were around 120,000 essence condensation pills in the storage bags. In the storage bags of the 3 grade 7 black immortals, Su Zimo even found 13 essence spirit stones. He learned from Yu Hao and the other 2 that 1 essence spirit stone could be exchanged for 10,000 essence condensation pills on the Dragon Abyss Star. He had benefited immensely this time round. Even without going to the Dragon Abyss Star to exchange for essence condensation pills, the 120,000 essence condensation pills were enough for Su Zimo to cultivate for a period of time. Of course, Su Zimo did not change his plans and still intended to head to Dragon Abyss City to take a look. The only pity was that Chen Xianyang managed to escape. There must be even more treasures and cultivation resources in Chen Xianyang's storage bag. The immortal herbs transported by Blood Sun Valley this time round were also in Chen Xianyang's storage bag. Unfortunately, Su Zimo did not manage to snatch them away. Along the way, Su Zimo learned a lot about the upper world from Yu Hao and the other 2. According to Yu Hao, the Dragon Abyss Star belonged to Green Cloud County. Green Cloud County was a county under the jurisdiction of the Great Gene Country. Within the jurisdiction of Green Cloud County, there were more than 100 cities like Dragon Abyss City. A single Dragon Abyss City ruled over the entire Dragon Abyss Star. One could imagine how vast the region ruled by the 100-odd cities was. However, those 100-odd cities were only equal to a single Green Cloud County. Green Cloud County alone was many times larger than Tianhuang mainland. It was hard to imagine the scale of the entire Great Gene Country. The Great Gene Country was far away in the starry skies above the gigantic shadow. According to Yu Hao, the shadow was an endless mainland. What they could see from the Dragon Abyss Star was only the tip of the iceberg. The Great Gene Country was on that mainland. Gu Wenjun said. Basically, all the cultivators on the Dragon Abyss Star want to leave this place and step foot on that land. I heard that the Heaven and Earth Essence Chi in the other cities of Great Gene Country's Green Cloud County is much richer than here, and their cultivation speed will be much faster. Su Zimo asked. What are the conditions required to leave the Dragon Abyss Star? The Dragon Abyss Star was thousands of kilometers away from the Great Gene Country. Only Heaven Immortal experts could cross the galaxy. However, Xia Qingying had once told him that there was a teleportation formation in Dragon Abyss City that could teleport cultivators to the mainland at the end of the starry skies. Yu Hao replied. There are 2 ways to leave the Dragon Abyss Star. The first is to cultivate to the level 9 Black Essence realm. After you become a grade 9 Black Immortal, you can head to the City Lord's residence in Dragon Abyss City. At that time, someone will naturally send you to the Great Gene Country. Su Zimo nodded. From the looks of it, a grade 9 Black Immortal was already the strongest expert on the Dragon Abyss Star. Yu Hao had just said that the City Lord of Dragon Abyss City was a grade 9 Black Immortal. However, it was almost impossible for one to cultivate to a grade 9 black immortal on the Dragon Abyss star where heaven and earth essence chi as well as cultivation resources were scarce. Yu Hao continued. The second method is to spend 100 essence spirit stones. 100 essence spirit stones. Su Zimo frowned slightly. 10,000 essence condensation pills could only be exchanged for 1 essence spirit stone. 100 essence spirit stones was equivalent to 1,000,000 essence condensation pills. However, how could ordinary cultivators possess so many essence condensation pills? More importantly, essence condensation pills were a necessary cultivation resource for black immortals to begin with. If cultivators wanted to raise their cultivation realms as soon as possible, they would have to consume essence condensation pills. As such, it was almost impossible for them to accumulate 1,000,000 essence condensation pills. Even after destroying nearly 5,000 troops of Blood Sun Valley, Su Zimo only obtained 120,000 essence condensation pills. That was 12 essence spirit stones. Including the 13 essence spirit stones, he only had 25 in total. Su Zimo said, "This second method is not much different from the first. It's difficult for ordinary cultivators to achieve." "You're right, fellow Taoist." Yu Hao smiled bitterly. "Only a major faction like Blood Sun Valley on the Dragon Abyss star can accumulate 100 essence spirit stones after a long period of accumulation. Ordinary cultivators like us have no hope for life." After traveling day and night for about half a month, they finally arrived at Dragon Abyss City. Looking at the city from afar, it was like a gigantic ancient beast that stood on the horizon in an extremely shocking manner. Before long, Su Zimo and the others arrived. The city walls of the ancient city were about 100 feet tall, and were made from gigantic green rocks that were filled with age. Shenfei said, "On the Dragon Abyss star, a height of 90 feet is the limit of the Black Essence Realm's ability to soar through the air. Therefore, the city walls of Dragon Abyss City are only 100 feet tall. In the upper world, not only was the space stable and the ground hard, even the gravity released by the ground was extremely strong. Although black immortals could soar through the air, they could not fly too high. Furthermore, the toll on their essence chi was immense. Even a grade 9 black immortal could only ascend to a height of 90 feet. With that, the cultivators of the Dragon Abyss star could only enter the city through the gigantic city gate that resembled the mouth of a ferocious beast. On both sides of the city gate stood more than 10 guards with sabers hanging on their waists. All of them had cold expressions and stopped everyone from entering the city to question them. The guards had different cultivation realms and most of them were at grades 6 or 7. Yu Hao said, "Everyone has to pay 1,000 essence condensation pills before entering the city. The guards will give each of us a badge. With this badge, you can stay in Dragon Abyss City for a day. This badge will disappear a day later. If you want to continue staying in Dragon Abyss City, you'll have to pay 1,000 essence condensation pills. Otherwise, you'll be kicked out by the guards of Dragon Abyss City." "Good Lord! 1,000 essence condensation pills for a single day in Dragon Abyss City!" Duan Tianliang muttered. "This is daylight robbery!" Everyone stood far away and had yet to arrive at the city gate. However, Duan Tianliang's words were heard by a city guard. The guard glanced over coldly with an icy expression. Duan Tianliang was shocked and shrank his neck. Taking a deep breath of air, Su Zimo said, "Let's go into the city." "All right." Yu Hao and the others agreed. Su Zimo said, "You guys accompanied me here this time round. I'll pay for the essence condensation pills for your trip into the city." Su Zimo had gained a lot from destroying the army of Blood Sun Valley this time round. He had also obtained a lot of useful information from Yu Hao and the other two, and it was only logical for him to provide the essence condensation pills. This, Yu Hao and the other two hesitated and were about to decline. Su Zimo had already taken out some essence condensation pills from his storage bag and handed them to the guard at the city gate. Chapter 1835 Turtle Shell. Chapter 1835 Turtle Shell. Su Zimo had a total of 5 people for this trip and he had to fork out 5,000 essence condensation pills. He handed over the storage bag with the essence condensation pills. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. "Exalted Immortal, please let us through. There are 6,000 essence condensation pills inside." When the guard heard Duan Tianliang's grumble earlier on, there was a high chance he would come and make things difficult for them. Su Zimo did not want to get into a conflict with the guards of Dragon Abyss City. Right now, entering the city was the most important thing for him. Initially, the guard wanted to make things difficult for Su Zimo's group. However, when he heard Su Zimo's voice transmission, his expression softened as he nodded to the latter. "Little cultivator, you sure are tactful." The person did not say much and condensed 5 badges with an immortal art, handing them to Su Zimo. "You're only allowed to stay in Dragon Abyss City for a day. Go on in." Su Zimo received the badge and expressed his thanks before entering Dragon Abyss City with Yu Hao and the others. Compared to the deserted city outside, Dragon Abyss City was extremely lively. The moment Su Zimo and the others entered the city, they saw many cultivators selling talismans, dharmic treasures and cultivation techniques on both sides of the road. Everywhere everyone could see, there were all sorts of cultivators. The gigantic city was bustling with people. There's only a single city in the true sense of the word on the entire Dragon Abyss Star. Many cultivators on the Dragon Abyss Star will try their best to gather here like a marketplace. Yu Hao said amidst the clamor. "Essence condensation pills are considered as currency here. If you want to purchase something, you can exchange it with essence condensation pills." Gu Wenjin said. "Fighting is not allowed in Dragon Abyss City. The moment anyone makes a move, the city guards will arrive and chase the cultivators out. If the situation is serious, the city guards might even kill the troublemakers on the spot." Shen Fei continued. "If you want to fight, there will be a night marketplace in Dragon Abyss City after night falls." Pausing for a moment, Shen Fei winked at Su Zimo and gave a strange laugh. "There's everything there. I heard that as long as you spend enough essence condensation pills, there will also be some beauties." Cough. At the side, Gu Wenjin's expression darkened as she coughed gently. "Let's get back to proper business." Shen Fei retracted his smile hurriedly and said sternly, "An auction will be held in the night marketplace. There will be many precious and rare treasures at the auction. After the auction, an arena will be set up. As long as both parties agree to it, they can even fight to the death." Su Zimo frowned slightly and asked, "Dragon Abyss City isn't going to interfere in this night marketplace?" "No." Yu Hao shook his head. "I heard that many of the guards and exalted immortals of Dragon Abyss City would head to the night marketplace occasionally to relax." Su Zimo nodded and chatted with Yu Hao and the others as they walked, glancing casually at the stalls on both sides of the road. Suddenly, Su Zimo focused his gaze and stopped in front of a stall. He squatted down and looked over. Yu Hao and the others watched from the side as well. The stall owner was a middle-aged man. There were some talismans, dharmic treasures, elixirs and even some rocks and minerals. "Fellow Daoist, what do you fancy?" the middle-aged stall owner asked. Su Zimo picked up an inferior black-grade dharmic treasure and examined it carefully, seemingly pleased. After looking at it for a moment, Su Zimo asked, "Fellow Daoist, how much is this dharmic treasure?" "Although this sword is an inferior black grade, it's extremely sharp and is top tier among the inferior black grades," the middle-aged stall owner said. "That sword is worth at least 20,000 essence condensation pills. You're really asking for a lot." At the side, Shen Fei could not take it any more and sneered. "The price of an inferior black-grade dharmic treasure is 10,000 essence condensation pills. Stop bluffing. Do you really think we don't know the market price? My sword is different." The middle-aged stall owner blushed when his thoughts were exposed, but he still braced himself and argued. Su Zimo shook his head gently and pretended to be troubled, sighing. 20,000 essence condensation pills is indeed a little expensive. Thereafter, Su Zimo put down the sword and looked at other things. He picked up a turtle shell the size of a face in a seemingly casual manner, and asked with a frown. Fellow Taoist, what is this? Ah! The middle-aged stall owner glanced at it. This turtle shell has an extraordinary background. I obtained it by chance in an ancient ruin. Stop exaggerating, Shen Fei sneered. So, all your items have such a powerful background? Su Zimo frowned. I injected heaven and earth essence chi into this turtle shell, but why isn't it moving at all? What's the use of this thing? Fellow Taoist, you don't know, the middle-aged stall owner said. If we can discover the secret behind a natural oddity, as such casually, it would be worthless. For treasures as such, you have to buy them before examining them carefully. Only then will you be able to comprehend the secrets within. Oh? Su Zimo smiled and asked in a seemingly casual manner. How much is this turtle shell? Just as the middle-aged stall owner was about to speak, he rolled his eyes. If you buy that sword for 20,000 essence condensation pills, I'll give you this turtle shell as a gift. Brother Su, let's go. When Yu Hao saw that Su Zimo seemed like he was about to be tricked, he did not care much and greeted Su Zimo as a brother before pulling him away. Unexpectedly, Su Zimo took out a storage bag and threw it in front of the middle-aged stall owner. 20,000 essence condensation pills. I'll buy it. The middle-aged stall owner was stunned and could not believe it. He opened the storage bag and saw that there were indeed 20,000 essence condensation pills. He had picked up the turtle shell casually, and it was completely useless. The price of that sword was around 10,000 essence condensation pills. To think that this refined cultivator would be so easily tricked into spending 20,000 essence condensation pills to purchase an inferior black-grade Dharmic treasure. At that thought, the middle-aged stall owner put away the 20,000 essence condensation pills hurriedly and tossed the sword and turtle shell to Su Zimo. He was afraid that Su Zimo would renege on his words. Sigh. When they saw that, Yu Hao and the other two exchanged glances and could only sigh helplessly. Now that the transaction was already done, it was useless even if they wanted to persuade him. Hold on! Right then, a feminine voice sounded not far away. Immediately after, a young man charged over and reached out, grabbing the turtle shell that was thrown towards Su Zimo. From the looks of it, he wanted to fight for the turtle shell. Narrowing his gaze, Su Zimo harumphed coldly and tapped the young man on the wrist gently. Right now, he could not release any divine powers or secret skills in Dragon Abyss City. However, that single finger was no different from a divine weapon with a sharp edge. Realizing how powerful he was, the young man's expression changed, and he retracted his hand hurriedly. Su Zimo conveniently kept the turtle shell in his palm and placed it in his storage bag, glaring at the young man coldly. Chapter 1836 Commander Lu. Chapter 1836 Commander Lu. The fight between Su Zimo and the young man was extremely short, and they separated before they even made contact. Although it attracted many gazes, it did not cause much of a stir. Yu Hao and the others looked at the young man opposite them and their expressions changed slightly in shock. Fellow Taoist Su, this is the young master of Blacking Mountain, Dingyu. Be careful! Yu Hao sent a voice transmission to Su Zimo hurriedly. Blacking Mountain was one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star, and was on par with Blood Sun Valley. Dingyu's cultivation realm was at the level 6 Black Essence realm. However, there was a grade 7 Black Immortal guarding him. The person looked at Su Zimo with an unfriendly expression. Behind the two of them were more than 10 grade 5 and 6 Black Immortals of Blacking Mountain. Shen Fei sent a voice transmission as well. This person is not to be trifled with. It's best to avoid conflict with him. Beside Dingyu stood a young woman with fair skin. Her eyes shone with a divine light, and she had a refined aura that shone brightly. Although this young woman was a grade 6 Black Immortal, she stood shoulder to shoulder with Dingyu. Be it in terms of aura or status, she seemed different from the guards of Blacking Mountain. An old man stood behind the young woman. Lowering his head, he was expressionless, and was also a grade 7 Black Immortal. Gu Wenjun's gaze swept past the young woman's waist and froze slightly. That woman might be from Heavenly Fire Palace. Gu Wenjun sent a voice transmission secretly. Furthermore, from the looks of it, that woman has a high status in the Heavenly Fire Palace. To think that she would have a grade 7 Black Immortal as her guard. Similar to Black Een Mountain and Blood Sun Valley, Heavenly Fire Palace was one of the 8 major factions. You don't recognize me? Ding Yu glared at Su Zimo coldly and asked. Su Zimo replied indifferently. The young master of Black Een Mountain. I've just heard of your name. Very good. Ding Yu nodded. Since that's the case, hand over that turtle shell. Don't worry, I won't let you take a loss. Earlier on, you bought an inferior black-grade sword and that turtle shell and spent 20,000 essence condensation pills. Ding Yu took out a storage bag and said, There are 40,000 essence condensation pills in this storage bag. I don't want that inferior black-grade sword, I only want that turtle shell. With that said, Ding Yu tossed the storage bag in his hands towards Su Zimo. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as he sidestepped and dodged. The storage bag with the 40,000 essence condensation pills fell to the ground. Ding Yu's expression darkened as he narrowed his eyes. What's the meaning of this? Nothing much, Su Zimo said. I don't want to sell this turtle shell. Ding Yu's gaze was cold as he said icily. Lad, you must have a death wish. Right then, the young woman beside Ding Yu took a step forward and cupped her fists towards Su Zimo. Fellow Daoist, I'm Jiangli of Heavenly Fire Palace. How much do you want to sell this turtle shell for? So, that's Jiangli. No wonder she has such an aura. Who is she? Although the daughter of the Palace Lord of Heavenly Fire Palace is a woman, I heard that she obtained the legacy of the Palace Lord and has never tasted defeat at the level 6 Black Essence realm. The crowd discussed. Literally, don't say anything more to him. Don't worry, I'll definitely help you get that turtle shell, Ding Yu said in a deep voice. Su Zimo ignored Ding Yu and said to Jiangli, I'm sorry, but I don't want to sell this turtle shell. A look of disappointment flashed through Jiangli's eyes, but she did not insist. Right then, a group of guards from Dragon Abyss City walked over. They wore armor and wielded spears with cold expressions. The guards opened up a path with their spears, separating the crowd instantly. Who's causing trouble? The leader had a dignified expression and a sharp gaze as he looked at Su Zimo, Ding Yu and the others before asking slowly. Su Zimo swept his spirit consciousness and saw that the leader of the guards was at the level 8 Black Essence realm. So, it's Commander Lu. When Ding Yu caught sight of that person, his earlier arrogance vanished instantly as he revealed a pandering smile. He closed in and bowed. Greetings, Commander Lu. I'm Ding Yu. Long time no see. This is a small gift as a token of my respect. Please accept it, Commander Lu. As he said that, Ding Yu took out a storage bag and handed it over. Commander Lu received it naturally and opened the storage bag to take a look. Nodding his head in satisfaction, he flipped his palm and kept it. Su Zimo frowned slightly. To think that a commander of Dragon Abyss City would receive a gift from Ding Yu in front of everyone without caring about the gazes of others. As for the surrounding cultivators, they had calm expressions, as though they were already used to this. Fellow Daoist Su, don't offend the guards of Dragon Abyss City. When Yu Hao saw that Su Zimo's expression was amiss, he hurriedly reminded with a voice transmission. Although Dragon Abyss City is a remote city under the jurisdiction of Green Cloud County, it's also under the jurisdiction of the Great Gene Country. We can't afford to offend it. Many of these guard commanders are native exalted immortals. In their eyes, our lives are like ants that can be crushed at will. Su Zimo remained silent. Even without Yu Hao's reminder, he would not provoke this Commander Lu. On the one hand, Commander Lu's cultivation realm was at the level 8 Black Essence realm. On the other hand, this was Dragon Abyss City. He would be courting death by offending a commander of Dragon Abyss City here. Even with his capabilities, he could not escape unscathed. After accepting Ding Yu's storage bag, Commander Lu's expression softened as he asked, What's going on here? Ding Yu smiled hurriedly. Reporting to Commander Lu, it's just a small matter. The transaction in the city is conducted on a first-come, first-served basis. Initially, I took a liking to an item. To think that this blind fool would buy that item while I was distracted! Fellow Daoist, you're twisting the facts. Yu Hao stood out and said in a deep voice. You weren't here when we were talking to this stall owner. Is that so? Why don't you ask the stall owner who came first? Ding Yu sneered and turned to look at the middle-aged stall owner with a threatening gaze. The middle-aged stall owner lamented internally. He knew that Su Zimo and the others were the ones who bought it first. However, the situation was pressing and Ding Yu had the support of Commander Lu. As such, he did not dare to tell the truth and merely stammered with a troubled expression. Suddenly, Commander Lu said, All right, this isn't a big deal. If you guys insist on your opinions, you can head to the night marketplace and fight. The item will belong to whoever that wins. That will be fair for all of you. A commotion broke out in the crowd. On the surface, Commander Lu said that it was fair. However, if they were to fight in the night marketplace, life and death was not an issue. Furthermore, Su Zimo was at level 5 of the Black Essence realm while Ding Yu was at level 6. No matter how one looked at it, this was not a fair fight. I'm fine with that. Ding Yu agreed excitedly. Do you have a problem? Commander Lu looked at Su Zimo and said indifferently. If you refuse, hand that thing over and return it to Ding Yu right now. Chapter 1837 Crisis. Chapter 1837 Crisis. Are you going to fight personally? Su Zimo shifted his gaze towards Ding Yu, who was not far away. Ding Yu raised his head slightly and said proudly, Of course. I'll personally retrieve what belongs to me and give it to Little Li. Su Zimo nodded without hesitation. Sure. Yu Hao and the others remained silent. They had witnessed Su Zimo's capabilities personally. Even in a head-on fight, Ding Yu might not be a match for Su Zimo. Ding Yu was extremely confident, and did not take Su Zimo seriously. In his opinion, the reason why Su Zimo agreed so readily was because he had no other choice under the pressure of Commander Lu. Commander Lu nodded slightly in satisfaction. In his eyes, be it Ding Yu or Su Zimo, they were just two lowlifes. However, Ding Yu was a tactful lowlife. Cultivation was boring, especially on the remote Dragon Abyss Star in Green Cloud County. Even as the guards of Great Gene Country, they did not have much entertainment. Watching lowlifes fight one another to the death was one of their few pleasures. That green-robed cultivator looks familiar. Right then, a voice sounded from the crowd. Immediately after, another person said, That seems to be the person with the bounty from the evil wolf army. His name is Su Zimo. Indeed, there's a resemblance. That's him. The crowd discussed. At that moment, countless gazes landed on Su Zimo. There was heat, hostility, greed, killing intent and pity. Any black immortal would be tempted by the bounty of 100,000 essence condensation pills. More and more cultivators gathered. Under the gazes of so many people, Yu Hao and the others who were standing beside Su Zimo felt waves of pressure and panicked. It was hard to imagine the pressure that Su Zimo was under at the center of the storm. Everyone looked at Su Zimo instinctively, and their hearts skipped a beat. Even under such circumstances, Su Zimo's expression was calm, as though he could not sense the hostile gazes. This person's temperament and courage are truly rare. In the crowd, a yellow-robed woman nodded slightly and said softly. There were more than 10 cultivators surrounding the yellow-robed lady, protecting her. Behind the yellow-robed lady stood a middle-aged burly man. He looked strong and energetic. Mistress, you are right. He is indeed unusual, the middle-aged burly man said softly. There was another group of people not far away from the yellow-robed woman. The person in the middle was also a beautiful woman. She looked like she had a prominent status and was protected by everyone. She wore a light blue dress that reached the ground and her eyes shone with lightning. The blue-dressed woman seemed to have heard what the yellow-robed woman said and suddenly smiled. Sister Su is right. Unfortunately, his cultivation realm is a little low. Now that he offended Ding Yu and is hunted down by the evil wolf army, He's truly not worth befriending. The yellow-robed lady smiled and did not argue. Instead, she asked, Sister Yuan, are you here for that thing as well? That's for sure. The blue-dressed woman smiled. Isn't it the reason why the 8 major factions are gathered in Dragon Abyss City at this time? The yellow-robed lady replied. Not exactly. From what I know, no one from Blood Sun Valley came. Sister Sue, I'll see you at the night workshop. I hope you can show mercy then, the blue-dressed woman said and turned to leave. The conversation between the two of them was impossible to distinguish in the noisy crowd. However, Su Zimo possessed the Green Lotus true body and his hearing was terrifying. He caught the conversation between the two of them clearly in the noisy crowd. Although their conversation was short, it revealed a lot of information. This time round, it was as though a treasure had appeared and was about to be auctioned at the night marketplace. As such, the 8 major factions of Dragon Abyss Star were gathered. From the looks of it, the 8 major factions placed great importance on that treasure. The people sent over were also important figures of the major factions. Ding Yu, Jiangli and Qin Xianyang, who had his arms severed by Su Zimo, were all the young masters and daughters of the major factions. So it's you! When Ding Yu heard the discussions around him, he could not help but burst into laughter. Seems like the bounty of 100,000 essence condensation pills is mine. Ha ha! To Ding Yu, Su Zimo was already a dead man. You had better not leave the city. Ding Yu looked at Su Zimo with a smile. There are countless eyes watching you right now. Once you leave, I guarantee that you'll be torn into pieces by many cultivators. You'll only have a chance of survival if you fight me in the night marketplace. With that said, Ding Yu burst into laughter and left smugly. As he had said, he was not worried that Su Zimo would leave Dragon Abyss City. Now that Su Zimo's identity was exposed, countless people wanted to attack him for the bounty of 100,000 essence condensation pills from the evil wolf army. No one could attack in Dragon Abyss City. However, once they left Dragon Abyss City, they could kill at will even at the city gate. With Ding Yu's departure, the crowd dispersed as well. However, in reality, there were still many cultivators lingering around the vicinity, watching Su Zimo's movements. Yu Hao and the others had grim expressions. The current situation was extremely disadvantageous for them. Even if they could survive the calamity of the night marketplace, they would be hunted down by many cultivators the moment they left Dragon Abyss City. Fellow Taoist Su! Right then, a soft cry sounded from behind Su Zimo. Su Zimo looked back. Not far away, a group of cultivators walked over. Their leader was dressed in yellow robes and had a faint smile on her face as she cupped his fists towards Su Zimo. Yu Hao glanced at the patterns on the sleeves of the cultivators and said softly with a focused gaze, These are people from Twin Dragon Sect. Twin Dragon Sect, one of the 8 major factions. Twin Dragon Sect was established by 2 Grade 8 Black Immortals. It was said that the 2 of them were sworn siblings and had some dragon blood flowing through their bodies. They were extremely strong. All major factions on the Dragon Abyss Star typically had unique emblems on their attires and badges. There was a divine dragon tattooed on each sleeve of those from Twin Dragon Sect. What's going on? Why are all the major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star here at this time? Shenfei muttered softly. The yellow-robed woman approached with a smile. I'm Su Wan from Twin Dragon Sect. Gu Wenjun sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. I heard that one of the sect masters of Twin Dragon Sect is surnamed Su. I'm Su Zimo. Su Zimo cupped his fists in return with a questioning gaze. Su Wan smiled gently and asked, Fellow Taoist Su, how confident are you for tonight's battle? It's all right. Su Zimo replied ambiguously. Su Wan sent a voice transmission. If you trust me, I can secretly send you out of the city to avoid this battle. Su Zimo looked at Su Wan deeply. Su Wan's gaze was sincere, and she did not dodge at all. That surprised Su Zimo slightly. Given the current situation, there were countless people who wanted to take his life in exchange for the high bounty of the evil wolf army. To think that someone would be willing to stand out and help him. Chapter 1838 Sal Tree Leaf. Chapter 1838 Sal Tree Leaf. Thank you for your kindness. Su Zimo declined. However, I still want to check out the night marketplace. When Su Wan saw Su Zimo's rejection, she did not mention this matter anymore. Instead, she continued, From what I know, apart from Blood Sun Valley, many cultivators from the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star are here to take part in the night marketplace. Do you know why, fellow Daoist Su? I don't know. Su Zimo shook his head. Please enlighten me, fellow Daoist. Su Wan said. There's a treasure being auctioned at the night marketplace this time round. It's a leaf of the Sal tree. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. The Sal tree was one of the 3 sacred trees of the Buddhist monasteries. Legend has it that Buddha was born beneath the Ashoka tree and comprehended the Tao beneath the Bodhi tree. Eventually, he underwent nirvana beneath the Sal tree. Each of the 3 sacred trees possessed an incredible might. A mere withered siraka flower on Tianhuang mainland possessed the power of life and allowed Su Zimo to reconstruct his golden core. Of course, in a minor kiliacosm like Tianhuang mainland, there was no way one could come into contact with the 3 sacred trees. A single siraka flower in Tianhuang mainland was already an utmost treasure of the Buddhist monasteries. To think that he would obtain information of another sacred tree of the Buddhist monasteries, the Sal tree, the moment he ascended to the upper world. Furthermore, it was on the remote Dragon Abyss Star. Although it was only a leaf, it definitely contained a powerful might. More importantly, Buddha underwent nirvana beneath the Sal tree. If he could obtain that leaf, would it be of unexpected help to him in comprehending the Prajna Nirvana Sutra? This Sal tree is one of the 3 sacred trees of the Buddhist monasteries. When Su Wan saw that Su Zimo was silent, she thought that he had not heard of the famous Sal tree and explained the origin of the tree briefly. Pausing for a moment, Su Wan continued, If you can obtain this leaf of the Sal tree, you can gather heaven and earth essence chi and make the surrounding essence chi richer. That way, be it the growth or cultivation speed of the immortal herb, everything will speed up. Oh? Su Zimo raised his brow. Su Wan replied, The essence nourishing grass and the rain frost flower ripens in 100 years. It's said that with the augmentation of this leaf, the maturity period of the 2 immortal herbs can be reduced by 10 years. That's incredible. Su Zimo lamented internally, secretly in awe. At the side, Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow and the Ying Zhao had strange expressions. Among everyone present, only the 3 of them knew Su Zimo's background. According to Su Wan, with the leaf of the Sal tree, the 2 immortal herbs would ripen in 90 years. However, immortal herbs around Su Zimo ripened within a single year. If the news of a 10 years reduction was enough for the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star to gather, news of Su Zimo's ability would probably attract the attention of even Earth and Heaven immortals. Of course, even if the Sal tree leaf did nothing to speed up the growth of the immortal herbs, he would want to obtain it as well. That leaf had an extremely special meaning to his cultivation. However, by the looks of it, at least 7 factions were fighting for that leaf. It would most likely be extremely difficult for him to get his hands on it. Fellow Daoist Su, have you joined any faction? If not, why don't you join Twin Dragon Sect? Su Wan made an invitation. Fellow Daoist, if you're willing to join our sect, Twin Dragon Sect will definitely step in to resolve this crisis with all our might. Thank you for your kind intentions, fellow Daoist. Su Zimo cupped his fists gently. Let me consider this matter. Su Wan did not insist. Fellow Daoist, if you've made up your mind, you can come look for me at any time. The 2 of them exchanged a few more words before bidding farewell and leaving. Miss, although this person is courageous, he's only a grade 5 black immortal and has offended the evil wolf army. Why did you take the initiative to recruit him? After Su Zimo left, the middle-aged burly man behind Su Wan asked with a frown. I have no idea as well, Su Wan said thoughtfully. I just feel that this person is special. Actually, Su Wan inherited her father's bloodline and a trickle of dragon blood flowed through her body as well. As for Su Zimo, he possessed the dragon phoenix essence spirit. Even a true divine dragon would have to bow down in the face of a dragon phoenix, let alone Su Wan, who merely had a trickle of dragon blood. Therefore, Su Wan had a special feeling the moment she saw Su Zimo. Under Yu Hao's lead, Su Zimo arrived at a residence in Dragon Abyss City and handed over more than 3 million immortal herbs in exchange for more than 300,000 essence condensation pills. Including the essence condensation pills he obtained from the Blood Sun Valley army, he had close to 500,000 essence condensation pills in his storage bag. Those essence condensation pills were enough for him to cultivate for a long time. Fellow Daoist Su, if you can obtain the protection of Twin Dragon Sect, you might truly have a chance of resolving this calamity, Yu Hao analyzed. Yu Hao and the others were not worried about the fight between Su Zimo and Ding Yu. In their opinion, even if Su Zimo was defeated, he would be able to survive with the methods he displayed previously. The true danger was the pursuit of the other cultivators after leaving Dragon Abyss City. At that moment, they did not know that the evil wolf army had already received the news and was sending an army over. A protector of Blood Sun Valley was about to arrive at Dragon Abyss City as well. Although Dragon Abyss City seemed calm, there were already undercurrents surging. Today's events and subsequent development had completely exceeded everyone's expectations. After exchanging for the essence condensation pills, Su Zimo found a random place to rest and recuperate while waiting for night to descend. In his boredom, Su Zimo took out the turtle shell from his storage bag and examined it carefully. Others might not be able to tell how special the turtle shell was, but Su Zimo had once cultivated the black tortoise phenomenon, and even possessed the innate divine power of the spirit turtle shield. He discovered right away that there was something strange about the patterns on the turtle shell. Su Zimo stared at the patterns on the turtle shell for a long time without even realizing that night had fallen. Yu Hao had to push Su Zimo gently to wake him up. Fellow Daoist Su, the night marketplace has already opened, Yu Hao reminded. Unable to contain his curiosity, Shen Fei asked. What's so special about this turtle shell that you're so engrossed in it, fellow Daoist? Su Zimo smiled and did not hide anything. The patterns on the turtle shell were actually etched by later generations. There's a formation diagram recorded on it. The formation diagram recorded on the turtle shell was far from the formations of the lower world and was extremely mysterious. Even with Su Zimo's attainments in array formations, he had some difficulties understanding it. That was the reason why he was immersed in it and forgot about the passage of time. Let's go to the night marketplace. Putting away the turtle shell, Su Zimo rose with a look of joy in his eyes. The value of this turtle shell was more than 2 million essence condensation pills, even 20 million. Everyone followed the crowd, and before long, they arrived at an extremely ordinary-looking residence. However, after entering the residence, they saw a gigantic underground entrance. Everyone walked down the stairs, and after a while, they heard a commotion. After turning a corner, the path ahead opened up and a gigantic and luxurious palace stood not far away. It was brightly lit and filled with figures. Chapter 1839 Auction. Chapter 1839 Auction. There were many guards guarding the surroundings of the palace, and their cultivation realms were not low. If anyone dared to cause trouble here, the guards would attack immediately. Su Zimo and the others paused for a moment before heading towards the entrance of the underground palace. Yu Hao and the others had only heard of the night marketplace before. This was their first time here, and they surveyed the place curiously. After entering the palace, there was a commotion. Although the palace was built underground, it was spacious and could accommodate at least tens of thousands of people. In the middle of the palace was a gigantic raised platform. At the top of the palace, there was a circle of resting areas with various spirit fruits and immortal peaches in front of them that emitted fragrance. Those seats were above the many cultivators below and had the best view. Only those with noble statuses could take the seats. Many cultivators were already seated and chatting among themselves. Su Zimo could clearly see that there were even a few grade 8 black immortals among them. Yu Hao whispered, "Those who can sit on it are usually the exalted immortals of Dragon Abyss City. They call the shots in the city and are famous. The 8 major factions are nothing in the eyes of these exalted immortals. Look at the young masters of these factions. They can only stand below. The high platform was already filled with people. Su Zimo swept his gaze. Before long, he caught sight of some familiar faces in the crowd below. Ding Yu of Black Ean Mountain and Jian Li of Heavenly Fire Palace each occupied an area. The two of them stood at the front with many cultivators guarding behind them. At the same time, Ding Yu caught sight of Su Zimo. Ding Yu sneered at Su Zimo and placed his palm beneath his neck, making a beheading gesture in a provocative manner. Su Zimo retracted his gaze and ignored it. Another group of people stood in the area beside Ding Yu. Their leader was a young man with a menacing expression. He was the young master of one of the 8 factions, Heavenbane sect. Brother Ding, to think that this lad would dare to accept the challenge. The young master of Heavenbane sect gestured with his hands. Ding Yu smiled. He has no choice. Commander Lu gave the order personally. If he dares to disobey, he's courting death. The young master of Heavenbane sect held a huge pork joint in his hands and grinned, his mouth filled with grease. I'll wish you success here then, brother. The moment Su Zimo entered the palace, many people on the raised platform looked over. Apart from Blood Sun Valley, the other 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star, Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold, Thundershock Hall, Twin Dragon Sect, Heavenbane Sect, Black Ean Mountain, Heavenly Fire Palace and Black Light Sect were all present. Fellow Daos Su, this way. Right then, a soft cry sounded from the crowd. Not far away, Su Wan of Twin Dragon Sect beckoned to Su Zimo. Although the people from the major factions were also standing below, they were all close to the raised platform and occupied an area each with a good view. Hesitating slightly, Su Zimo still walked over. Ding Yu and the others sneered when they saw that. A look of surprise flashed through the blue-dressed woman's eyes as well. In the eyes of everyone, Su Zimo was already a man on the brink of death. Nobody expected Twin Dragon Sect to choose to befriend him at this moment. At that moment, everyone was gathered in the hall. However, the auction for the night marketplace had yet to begin. Before long, a group of people walked in slowly from the entrance of the palace. Their leader was Commander Lu. At that moment, Commander Lu had already changed out of his armor and wore an ordinary brocade robe, heading towards his seat at the top. Brother Lu, you're late. We've been waiting for you. A square-faced burly man greeted Commander Lu from his seat. Su Wan whispered. This is another commander of Dragon Abyss City, Yan Fei. His status is similar to Commander Lu. Yan Fei said. Brother Lu, I heard that you've arranged a fight today? Commander Lu smiled faintly. I'm just playing around. Do you want to make a bet with me, Brother Yan? Oh? With what? Yan Fei asked. Commander Lu said. Let's bet on your rainbow sword art. If I win, can you lend it to me? Ha ha. Yan Fei burst into laughter. You've been coveting my sword art for quite some time now. You've sure planned this well. I heard that there's a difference of a cultivation round between the two of them today. Commander Lu said. We can change the way we gamble. We'll bet on how many rounds Ding Yu will take to kill that person. That's interesting. Yan Fei rubbed his chin in deep thought. Both of them did not conceal their conversation given their high statuses. Although Su Zimo and the others were in the crowd, they heard their conversation clearly. Su Wan smiled bitterly and sent a voice transmission secretly. Fellow Daoist Su, those of us who ascended from the lower world are merely toys in their eyes. These exalted immortals often arrange for such fights and gambles. This is one of their joys. Su Zimo was silent. To be precise, Commander Lu and the other exalted immortals did not take them seriously at all. Everyone, please be silent. Right then, a pleasant voice sounded from the raised platform. Unknowingly, a woman had already arrived on the raised platform. Wearing a thin veil, her alluring and graceful figure was faintly discernible. Her red lips were flirtatious and charming to the bones. Shen Fei was stunned and could not help but gulp. Exalted immortals, please take your seats. Today's auction shall officially begin. The veiled woman smiled gently. Su Wan said in a low voice. Typically, fights between cultivators will only begin after the auction is over. Suzimo nodded. On the raised platform, the veiled woman waved her hand gently. Not far away, a young girl walked over and ascended the raised platform with light steps. She held a tray with both hands that was covered with a black cloth. The first item up for auction is a cultivation technique, the Heavenly Thunder Dragon Tiger Sutra, a high-quality light-grade technique. The veiled woman lifted the black cloth and revealed an ancient book within. There were 4 grades of cultivation techniques: heaven, earth, black, and light. Each grade had different qualities. Right now, most of the cultivation techniques cultivated by the cultivators of the Dragon Abyss Star were low quality, and could not even be considered as low-quality light grade. Now that the Heavenly Thunder Dragon Tiger Sutra appeared, it attracted the attention of many cultivators. The blue-dressed woman from Thundershock Hall was invigorated as she glared at the ancient book with a burning gaze. The starting price of this cultivation technique is 500,000 essence condensation pills. The veiled woman said slowly. Good Lord, the starting price is 500,000 essence condensation pills. Duan Tianliang shuddered and almost bit his tongue. Suzimo frowned slightly as well. Even the number of essence condensation pills in his storage bag was less than 500,000. Of course, he was not interested in the ancient book. Although he did not know the grade of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra, it was definitely above Earth grade and might even be a heaven grade cultivation technique. If that was not the case, he would not have been able to subdue Yin Yang and fuse the Dragon Phoenix and Green Lotus Essence spirits. Chapter 1840 Sentient Dharmic Treasure. Chapter 1840 Sentient Dharmic Treasure. The auction continued, and after an intense fight, the blue-dressed woman from Thundershock Hall spent 3 million essence condensation pills to obtain the Heavenly Thunder Dragon Tiger Sutra. Thereafter, the auction displayed some immortal pills, talismans, dharmic treasures, and other items one after another. Every single treasure was sold for millions of essence condensation pills. Many cultivators of the major factions placed bids as well. However, it was clear that the major factions had restrained themselves and were waiting for the final treasure, the Sal Tree Leaf. Right then, another item was placed on the table. The item looked dim and dull, like a shard that fell off an ancient bronze mirror. Initially, Suzimo did not feel anything towards the mirror shard. However, the moment the mirror shard was displayed, the bronze square tripod in his consciousness stirred. Suzimo narrowed his eyes slightly. Previously, the bronze square tripod had only reacted this way when a broken sword was discovered in the storage bag of the commander of the evil wolf army. Later on, the bronze square tripod smelted the broken sword. Immediately after, the divine dragon on the outer wall of the bronze square tripod awakened and imparted to him an extremely powerful movement technique, the true Dragon 9 Flashes. It was clear that some dharmic treasures and weapons were required to repair the bronze square tripod. However, no matter the quality of the dark-grade dharmic treasures that Suzimo collected, there would be no reaction when they were placed in the bronze square tripod. He did not know what type of dharmic treasures and weapons the bronze square tripod required. What's that? It's just a shard. What's so special about it? Some cultivators below could not help but ask curiously. The veiled woman smiled charmingly. Everyone, please calm down and answer me first. Do you know what's the realm above the heaven immortal realm? Instantly, the crowd went silent. Many cultivators exchanged puzzled glances. They only knew about the black, earth, and heaven immortals. They had not even seen an earth immortal expert before, let alone anyone above that. I heard that it's perfected immortal? Before long, a voice sounded from the crowd. It was the young master of Black Light sect who probed. That's right. The veiled woman nodded slightly. Perfected immortal experts are above heaven immortals. Everyone, do you know what grade of dharmic treasures perfected immortal experts use? Everyone shook their heads and discussed softly. A thought flashed through the mind of the young master of Black Light sect as he declared. Everyone knows that black immortals use black-grade dharmic treasures, Earth immortals use Earth-grade Dharmic treasures, Heaven immortals use Heaven-grade Dharmic treasures, and so on. Perfected immortals should use perfect-grade Dharmic treasures. Phoo! A stifled laughter sounded from the seats high above. How ignorant! Commander Liu and the others looked at the young master of Black Light Sect as though they were looking at an idiot with disdain. The young master of Black Light Sect flushed red from being mocked in front of everyone and felt utterly humiliated. However, the other party was a commander of Dragon Abyss City, and he did not dare to get angry. He could only lower his head and grit his teeth in frustration. The veiled woman said in a deep voice, "The weapon used by perfected immortals is a Sentient Dharmic Treasure, also known as a Spirit Treasure." A Sentient Dharmic Treasure. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, he recalled that back in Tianhuang mainland, when Dai Yu fought against many experts of the upper world, an ancient bell descended. Dai Yu had once scolded that this person did not dare to descend with his true body and merely used a Sentient Dharmic Treasure to test the waters. In that case, the person who attacked should be a perfected immortal expert. The veiled woman continued, "The so-called Sentient Dharmic Treasure means that it has gained sentience and consciousness. The power of such a Dharmic treasure is increased tremendously and contains many unexpected mysteries. This mirror shard is none other than a fragment of a spirit treasure." The other Dharmic treasures were just weapons and were dead objects. However, a Sentient Dharmic Treasure was a living being with life. Su Zimo's eyes lit up and he suddenly came to a realization. The bronze square tripod should be a Sentient Dharmic Treasure. That was because without Su Zimo's control, the tripod could smelt weapons to repair itself. Wasn't that a form of sentience? Wasn't that the same sentience described in the legends? At the same time, Su Zimo vaguely deduced something. If he wanted to repair the bronze square tripod, he would require at least a Sentient Dharmic Treasure. Back when he ascended, the expert who tried to kill him was clearly stronger than a perfected immortal. He was an immortal king that the mysterious woman mentioned. The bronze square tripod could only repair one of its walls after devouring and smelting an immortal king weapon. Given Su Zimo's current strength, he had no chance of coming into contact with an immortal king weapon. Even for Sentient Dharmic treasures, he only managed to obtain a single fragment. There was still a long way to go to repair the bronze square tripod completely. Even if it's a fragment of a spirit treasure, it's crippled and completely useless now. What can this fragment be used for? It's definitely useless. If it was a true treasure, we wouldn't have had a chance. The exalted immortals in the city would have taken it a long time ago. The crowd below broke into a discussion after the veiled woman's explanation. The veiled woman smiled gently. "No matter what, this is a fragment of a Sentient Dharmic Treasure. If there's anything mysterious about it, we can only leave it for the person who bought it to explore." "How much is this thing?" someone asked. "The starting bid for this spirit treasure fragment is 1,000,000 essence condensation pills. Every bid increment must not be less than 10,000, the veiled woman said. Everyone shook their heads. Nobody wanted to spend 1,000,000 essence condensation pills to buy a useless fragment. After the veiled woman said that, no one started bidding. "I'll bid for 1,000,000. Right then, a voice sounded from the crowd. Everyone turned towards the voice. It was the green-robed cultivator who wanted to fight Ding Yu. Su Wan looked at Su Zimo in surprise as well. She had not expected that Su Zimo would want to buy such a seemingly useless spirit treasure fragment after a night of silence. While the spirit treasure fragment might be useless in the hands of others, it was extremely useful to Su Zimo. This person sure is ambitious. He's even taking part in the auction when he's about to die. That's right. Why doesn't he spend the time thinking about how he's going to leave this place alive later? Many cultivators shook their heads and mocked. This fellow Daoist is bidding 1,000,000. Are there any higher bids? The veiled woman surveyed her surroundings and asked loudly. 1,010,000! Right then, Ding Yu spoke and smiled at Su Zimo. Raising his head slightly, his eyes were filled with provocation and mockery. He had no intention of getting his hands on that spirit treasure fragment. He was merely raising the price deliberately. He did not add much, just 10,000. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as he said indifferently, 3 million. Whoosh! A commotion broke out in the crowd. Nobody expected that this unassuming green-robed cultivator would be able to produce 3 million essence condensation pills. This person was only a Grade 5 Black Immortal. How could a Grade 5 Black Immortal have so many essence condensation pills? You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.